सभी को मेरा हार्दिक नमस्कार। आज हम 380 वेबिनार पर पायदान पर हैं, जो कि आप लोगों के सहयोग के बिना संभव नहीं था। और आज जो टेक्निकल ग्लिच ईश्वर वंदना में आई, ऐसी यदि आती तो भी संभव नहीं था। तो वी आर फॉर्चुनेट इनफ that we have not faced these technical glitches in maximum quantity. So thank you very much. I would like to request Madan sir for moderation, and for welcoming I would like to request BK Agnihotri sir to welcome the audience as well as speakers, and then Madan sir, your stage is yours. Welcome sir. 2 दिन के लिए अपॉलॉजी मांगता हूं, मैं रात को सो चुका था, जो आपने बिल्कुल सही समझा होगा। रात को
आपकी गुड नाइट पहले हो गई थी, हम लोग गुड नाइट बाद में हुई। हमने कहा ना
आपका शुभ रात्रि।
आप सुन लीजिए, आप देख लीजिएगा आर्काइव में बहुत अच्छा डिस्कशन चला है और बहुत दूर तक गया है, देखा होगा आपने शायद। कल तो तुलसी माता जी प्रकट हो गई थी, कल हमारे वेबिनार के एंड पार्ट में तुलसी जी प्रकट हो गई थी।
काफी पिछले 3-4 दिन से अग्निहोत्री जी हमारी जो डिस्कशन होती है बाद में, इतनी मटेरियल निकल आती है जी इसमें, बहुत वेरी वेरी। और उस टाइम तो पवन जी सोते रहते, कोई नहीं। नमस्कार जी।
ओके, थैंक यू डॉक्टर पवन शर्मा जी। Welcome to all dignitaries who are here on today's 380th webinar to this platform. It's again a very unique topic and unique day for us all to have a good look and good inputs regarding such a wonderful topic as we are celebrating International Diversity Day, and on that topic, how Ayush can be involved. So in the same connection, our approach is that unique biological diversity could be inferred out of our whole of the wing, which I say as Ayush. So in what way we can be in position to establish the connection with today's International Diversity Day. So we welcome to all our dignitaries along with our speakers. As we just came to know that Dr. Ganga R. Hadimani ji is not available today by some unavoidable circumstances, but he has been kind enough that he introduced Dr. Shradha what's her full name? Nayak. I'm sorry. Shradha Nayak to deliver her lecture and enlighten us in reference with today's International Celebration Day. And our next speaker, I think Dr. Saikat Basu will be there. 2 speakers are today's guest speakers. So with the hope that we will be having a good stuff of knowledge, and afterwards the discussion, we welcome you all and stands our today's webinar as open. Thank you, and over to Dr. Pawan Sharma.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now I would like to request Professor Madan sir.
Pawan ji,
stage is yours, sir. Welcome.
Pawan ji, namaskar. I have taken the liberty, Pawan ji, kal हमारे साथ है अनिता तोमर जी, डॉक्टर अनिता तोमर, कहाँ से? फॉरेस्ट रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट की इलाहाबाद आउट स्टेशन से। और so I requested Anita ji to join us. Anita ji specializes, she did her PhD काफी साल पहले lesser known plants के ऊपर, LKP कहते हैं लोग, LKP, lesser known plants, और उसमें आते हैं सारा कुछ. There are plants which are not very well understood. I have also taken the liberty of requesting Kiran Chauhan ji. Kiran ji hai also PhD student, Dehradun mein, FRI mein, Forest Research Institute mein. अब अग्निहोत्री जी, एक इंटरेस्टिंग बात है कि दोनों लोग उत्तराखंड से, जांसौर से।
Jansar, अच्छा, Jansar Babar. A very
बस
tribal area. That's a tribal
So,
area.
देखो, let me see if they will join. Kiran ji is only a PhD student. So Kiran has joined. Kiran, namaskar. Kiran is a lovely young lady doing her PhD on a plant called Principis. इसमें से beech में से the seeds produce a very valuable oil. And so Kiran is here. You will see a very confident PhD student, and very happy to be. किरण से हमें पता चला कि उत्तराखंड में एक जगह है जौनसोर, और
Jansar Babar.
Jansar Babar, बस
Jansar Babar.
Kiran said we will find out from Kiran ji. She is joining us.
That is a tribal area and very important historical background related with the Pandavas.
Pandavas, okay. Yeah. I will see if Kiran ji is waiting. Kiran might be waiting in the waiting room. Somebody will, Pawan ji might let Kiran in. Acha, and also Anita ji will join us. Now, today I'm happy that at such short notice we are going to be touching on a very, very important topic, and I hope we can get some valuable discussion. So, Shradha ji, namaskar. Thank you so much for joining us today. आप कहाँ से जुड़ रहे हो जी आज BHU से?
Sir, मैं actually Mumbai में from BHU. I did my PhD.
We look forward to hearing from you. Saikat ji, namaskar. Saikat ji, I have a request. We enjoyed your presentation yesterday, but we couldn't see your face at all. So I request if you can stabilize your telephone and put it in a way so that we can see your face clearly. थोड़ा सा अगर रोशनी की तरफ नहीं जी, इस तरफ, you'll have to change it. Oh, that is slightly better. There's a shadow on one side. But the reason why I'm saying this, Saikat ji, is because our presentations are being archived. They are being recorded and people are viewing this. So we want to give a quality presentation to these things.
I think BHU is contributing a lot, because
yes, BHU is.
As today's speaker told that she is also from BHU. She did her PhD. It's my pleasure to see you. Yeah,
Shradha ji, thank you so much for joining at such short notice. We have Doma ji here with us. Ravi ji, namaskar. And Preeti Banerjee is joining us from, I don't know where, Parikshit Devnath. Parikshit ji, namaskar. Before I give the floor back to Pawan ji to take us into our presentations today, I just want to recollect what we discussed yesterday. Yesterday was a very, very important day with very valuable contributions. And later on, as we went into our presentation, we had some amazing discussions also. So I'm taking the liberty of just reminding us what we talked about yesterday. We talked about the botanical garden networks across India. This is one example. And we were introduced to this by our speaker from Nadiad. And this is one of the many botanical gardens in India. This is very special because it is in the Western Ghats, and in the southern part of India, the Western Ghats is an extremely biodiversity-rich area. Now, I highlight this because if you look within here, there are many plant genetic resources, etc. They hold one of the largest bamboo biology, bamboo biodiversity resources in India and perhaps in the world. They have medicinal aromatic spice plants unit. They have very, very special collections here. And they have all of these things. I request all our viewers to visit this website, and also, if time permits, to go and visit this resource, this valuable, very beautiful botanic garden that is located almost in the natural environment, the Western Ghats. So here you can see the number of plant species that are maintained there. They have a very special collection from the Andaman Nicobar Island. You can see they have eagle murmullos, and so many plants are here. You can see the entire collection of plants that come from the Andaman Nicobar Island. They have a very large piper. You see, they have these studies on wild piper niagara collections. They have a big collection of gingers, which is all medicinal plants and important for all of us. They have collections of other material. They run training programs, etc. So this is one of the many resources in India. There are similar places in other parts of the world. I just want to highlight here, the Institute has about 1,200 taxa and covers the small area where it's maintained, about 10 acres of this. All those details are there. I will go into this. I'll put this on our website. The second resource I mentioned yesterday when we chatted in our discussions is this ENVIS Center for Medicinal Plants. And I mentioned that this is perhaps the world's largest database with names and information of plants. If you go into the Indian medicinal plants database, you will see the number of entries that are maintained here, 7,637 botanical names of about 6,200 medicinal plants. With the unique thing about this database is the vernacular names in 12 languages across India. So this is a way in which we can capture biodiversity, understand what is available, and more importantly, see if we can locate that unique biodiversity, what is unmapped, what is not understood. It's very easy to use this database. You can just go in there and you can type a botanical name or a vernacular name, and then it will display. You see, if I just do piper, you can see the number of species of piper. We are used to 2 species, Piper niagara and Piper longum, pipili, and what is used, black pepper that is used. So Piper longum and Piper niagara, these are the 2 that we are used to, but you can see what is available in the large number of Piper, in the Piper genus. So that is one thing. Now, Pavanji raised a question, which is, how are we going to use all this information? How are we going to connect with the rest of the world? And I bring you here to the European region and the database from the European Commission on nature and biodiversity. Biodiversity is a very, very important topic in the European Commission. And the interpretation of this is briefly in this website here. And if you scroll through this web page, you will see the kind of areas where they are wanting to explore: species protection, infrastructure, global coalition for United for Biodiversity, knowledge data. And I want to just go into here, this bit about biodiversity financing. And this is important for India as a interactor with the European Union. There are a lot of discussions that are going on between India and the European Union about trade deals and all those interactions. And it seems like for the moment, Ayurveda and Ayush systems has to sit inside this bigger discussion that's going on between India and the European Union, or India and Africa, India and other parts of the world, India and the UK, etc. So you can see this is an area that we want to learn a little more about, and we must make an effort to understand this area very critically, particularly where funds are involved. There is an opportunity to develop collaborative projects for the future, particularly in the space of unique biodiversity. So not just biodiversity, but very unique biodiversity. I mentioned about the resources that are here at the Tropical Botanic Garden and Research Institute and the collections that are there. So within here are very unique specimens that may not be available in other parts of the world. And that is one dimension of this unique biodiversity. So this is where I feel as a collective, so we have raised a point here, Pavanji is kind enough to highlighted this as an area that we should discuss, and we are here. I'm picking up a few areas where I feel that there is opportunity to have government-to-government discussions, so G2G discussions between India and the European Union, and only with a collective effort, which means we must work as a community, because not any one person has the entire set of skills and knowledge to engage at the G2G level. And then we must be able to present our wishes to the government, to the Indian government, to the Ministry of Ayush or Ministry of External Affairs or the cabinet, and see if we can get some dialogue and express our wishes at the government-to-government level, where we can enable projects. So with those few words, I've shared 3 resources today. And with those few words, I just want to conclude here and leave the floor for our speakers. I can see Kiranji. Kiran, namaskar. Thank you for joining today. I also hope Anita Tomarji will join us today. Kiran, thank you for joining at such short notice. I just sent Kiran a message now, and she has joined us from Dehradun. Kiran, we would like, I know you have many presentations with you. We have discussed it before, and I like your presentation on Principes. And if you can share that with us, then we would enjoy that. We have enough time today, and we look forward to learning from you. Pavanji will introduce the speakers so that all of us get to know who is who. And Pavanji, thank you so much for picking up such a wonderful topic today. Not only biodiversity, but you have highlighted unique biodiversity. So you are challenging all of us to think a little more than just वो क्या कहते हैं कि छोटी मोटी biodiversity वाली बात, उसको छोड़ो और unique वाली चीज बताओ. जो Saikat ji gave us a very beautiful description yesterday about the challenges, but within that we are trying to find a new position and a new way to understand those ground realities, but also find a global position in what we want to do. Namaskar ji.
Thank you very much. So as per the sequence, I would like to request Dr. Saikat Kr Basu, Executive Research Director, Performance Seed, Little Bridge, Alberta, Canada. Welcome, Dr. Saikat. Welcome.
Saikat ji, namaskar.
Hello.
Saikat, we can hear you. Thank you so much for joining us today from Alberta,
yeah, I am honored
Canada.
To be present here.
I hope it is not too early for you in the morning.
No, thanks. I'm having a little trouble. This one is not allowing me to get into the
video.
The video. Let me log out and then I will get in. I think.
Thank you. We'll wait for you. Thank you, Saikat.
Okay, I think now for a second it started working. Can you see me now?
We can see you, but somehow it will be wonderful if you could stabilize your mobile phone. It is technology is powerful. We are amazed that you can connect from Alberta using a small mobile phone. If there is some way to stabilize your camera and your phone, then that will be wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ji. I will, if I may take the liberty of just requesting you to adjust your the position of your...
I'm doing it, yeah. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you very clearly, thank you. We enjoyed your presentation yesterday, a very provocative presentation about some of the key factors that are responsible for destabilizing any wishes to maintain plant resources and animal resources. You highlighted that very nicely, a very provocative interpretation and the facts that you gave. I hope there are people in the government listening to what you presented yesterday. We will make it a point, they will listen to it, and they will come back to you for more recommendations. So thank you again for joining us today and for sharing perhaps equally provocative and equally insightful points about unique biodiversity, not just biodiversity, but also. Thank you, Saikat. Thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure, and I want to extend my thanks to you for expanding beyond just the level of Ayurveda. You are going to the next level. You are approaching a multidisciplinary approach, and I thank you all for going in this direction, because this is one a particular facet of research that is missing in Indian universities and academia is we do not want to collaborate. So this is very good that just not restricting yourselves to Ayurveda, but you are expanding the horizon in a holistic, broader manner so that you can have feedbacks from various other branches of science, which ultimately will help Ayurveda to gain a greater global platform. Thank you so much for this.
Kiran, I'm happy you have joined us today from Dehradun. And we have Professor Agnihotriji also from Dehradun here with us. So we will get a chance to interact as we come into your presentation. Thank you, Kiran.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for joining us today. I was just telling Agnihotriji about the beautiful part of Uttarakhand that you come from. And we want young people like you to take the leadership role here to make Devbhoomi really a global center for whatever activities.
Yes, sir. Sorry, but actually I'm out of my institute, and I cannot present right now because I'm not carrying my laptop. And yeah,
but you can. I know this is a very short notice invitation, but we are so happy you have joined us. You can at least just describe to us a little bit of Principis. I think I have a slide somewhere here from our exchanges. I will put that up for you. Just the environmental location around the Himalayas where Principis grows. Maybe you can just improvise as you go along, Kiran. I know you can do it very easily. Yes. You can also tell us a little bit about the studies you are doing on the oil from Principis and also the quality of the oil. But initially we wait for Saikat Ji to join. Saikat Ji might be having some issues with Saikat Ji. Is everything all right? So, and I'm happy to have Surendra Chaudhary Ji here with us. Namaskar Ji.
Yeah, namaskar to all. Thank you. And it's
namaskar
really
Ji. Thank you so much for joining us. I wish you were also with us yesterday, Ji. Yesterday, we had a very, very valuable discussion on endangered species and plants. And
I wish you were there. Because but I will go through the YouTube channel.
Hanji, please. We still remember your presentation, and once again, a presentation that took us to the depths of the challenges of quality control in medicinal plant, in medicinal formulations. And what you offered on that day was very, very important. Some of the images that you had on your presentation about the sometimes unacceptable state of some of our production facilities,
Thank you. Madanji, if you permit me just for a minute, I would just want to share my views on this particular topic.
Hanji, please. We will wait for Saikat.
Biodiversity Act is one of the few acts where our manufacturers are not aware about.
Hanji.
They are totally unaware. What are the rules and regulations, how they are being implicated out of the certain rules which are manufacturers are really ignorant. But my point to share with the today's speakers is that this amendment is this act is going to be amended very soon.
Achha.
And that is in a parliament committee. Jairam Ramesh is one of the members. And the government put a very clear-cut notion that all Ayurveda physicians should be spared under the preview of this act.
इसके मतलब जी एक बार इसको थोड़ा और बताना जी सुरेंद्र जी।
ऐसा है मदन जी कि जो बायोडाइवर्सिटी एक्ट है उसमें जो हमारे मैन्युफैक्चरर हैं वो ये अपेक्षा की जाती है कि वो हमारे जो उनके प्रोडक्ट्स हैं जिसमें वो जिस स्टेट का रिसोर्स यूज कर रहे हैं तो उनको जो उनका प्रॉफिट है उसका शेयर वहाँ के लोकल्स को जाना चाहिए। इस तरीके का उसमें एक क्लॉज है। अब उसमें दिक्कत जो आती है वो ये आती है कि सपोज मैं गाजियाबाद में या नोएडा में मेरी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग यूनिट है और मैं रॉ मटेरियल खरीद रहा हूँ दिल्ली के लोकल मार्केट से, सो आई एम नॉट अवेयर कि ये जो आंवला मैंने खरीदा है ये किस स्टेट से आया है।
बिल्कुल जी।
या कोई एक हर्ब जो फार स्टेट्स की हैं वो मैं दिल्ली से खरीद रहा हूँ, तो आई एम नॉट अवेयर। लेकिन जो स्टेट बोर्ड है डाइवर्सिटी एक्ट का, वो मेरे को नोटिस भेज देता है कि आपका टोटल इतना टर्नओवर है एंड आउट ऑफ दिस ये आपके स्टेट का एक्सचेकर बनता है, शेयर बनता है। तो प्रैक्टिकली ये अच्छा, इसमें फॉरेस्ट वालों को भी बहुत ज्यादा नहीं पता है अभी तक। तो अभी गवर्नमेंट ने क्या किया कि इस अच्छा, जैसे मैं फिजिशियन हूं या आप फिजिशियन हैं and you want to manufacture your own medicine just to dispense to your patients, तो बायोडाइवर्सिटी एक्ट उस फिजिशियन पर भी लागू होता है, क्योंकि वो जो रॉ मटेरियल यूज करता है डेफिनेटली वो किसी न किसी स्टेट का या किसी न किसी एरिया का रिसोर्स है, तो उनको भी नोटिस जाता है। तो अभी आयुष मिनिस्ट्री ने उसमें एक प्रपोजल भेजा जो अमेंड होने जा रहा है कि आयुष के मतलब जो आयुर्वेद के फिजिशियंस हैं जो अपने लिए मेडिसिन बनाते हैं उन पर ये लागू नहीं होना चाहिए, ऐसा रिकमेंडेशन दिया। लेकिन जयराम रमेश ने एक अपना ऑब्जेक्शन दिया कि अगर इनको स्पेयर करे तो और बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम्स हो सकती हैं, तो ये ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए, ऐसा उन्होंने अपना उसमें पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू रखा है। सो ये पॉइंट में रेज करने के
डॉक्टर साहब, आपकी मन में क्या होनी चाहिए कि आप, इट्स अ कॉम्प्लेक्स प्रॉब्लम, क्योंकि यू आर रेज्ड करेक्टली कि हमने यूज किया आंवला या अदरक या कुछ भी हो, पिपली या कुछ भी, वी नेवर नो वेयर इट इज कमिंग फ्रॉम। इसके क्या हो सकता है?
इसका बहुत सिंपल रास्ता है। गवर्नमेंट ने पहले, देखिए गवर्नमेंट ने रूल्स बहुत अच्छे बनाए हैं, इम्प्लीमेंटेशन उनका खराब है। गवर्नमेंट ने ड्रग एक्ट में एक प्रोविजन किया हुआ है, आई थिंक द रूल इज 157A। उसमें हर मैन्युफैक्चरर को ये मैंडेटरी है कि वो साल भर में जितना भी अपना रॉ मटेरियल यूज करता है उसकी इंफॉर्मेशन नेशनल मेडिसिनल प्लांट बोर्ड को जाती है। ये एक मैंडेटरी डॉक्यूमेंट है एंड आई डाउट कि मैन्युफैक्चरर्स उसको रेगुलरली अपलोड करते हैं या नहीं करते हैं। सो उसमें क्या है कि सपोज मैंने एक फिक्स क्वांटिटी यूज की, सपोज मैंने अश्वगंधा की, तो उसमें ये भी है कि कहाँ से आपने परचेज किया, तो मैं उसमें लिखूंगा, क्योंकि वो मेरी इनवॉइस में आया हुआ है, बिल्ड है वो, कि मैंने दिल्ली में वो ABCD ट्रेडिंग हाउस से मैंने खरीदा। सो नाउ इट्स गवर्नमेंट ड्यूटी टू आस्क ABCD ट्रेडर्स के फ्रॉम विच यू परचेज दिस। तो इससे नुकसान क्या हो रहा है कि जो रियल जिसको शेयर जाना चाहिए उसको नहीं जा रहा है, और जिस स्टेट में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग यूनिट है, बिकॉज वो बाउंड है लॉ के, तो वहां से उनके पास में नोटिस आता है कि आपने इतना जो रिसोर्स है इतना आपको यहाँ इसका जमा कराना पड़ेगा।
थैंक यू।
और इस पे इसको किसी ने सीरियसली लिया नहीं है, चाहे वो एडमा हो चाहे दूसरी कोई संस्था हो जो मैन्युफैक्चरर्स एसोसिएशन है, they never took this bill as a seriously.
Dr. Saab, you have raised a very, very important issue, and it is a good overlap between where Saikat Babuji, who's joining us from Alberta, Canada today, he gave a very powerful presentation yesterday. It has been recorded, so you can listen to it. And I think this issue that you are saying, implementation, is a challenge for all of us. Saikat ji touched on it yesterday. I hope you have highlighted, Surinder ji, you have highlighted a very, very important point. I hope you will stay with us as long as you are able to, as the progress, as we discuss, as we continue with our presentations, because we want to get your feedback on these points later into, it will give our presenters and audience to think about the question you have raised, implementation ki baat, or how to refine some of these acts. I mean, there is a need for a lot of discussion. Yesterday, Saikat Babu gave us an example of how some interstate issues running across the southern states, the Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, etc. And Veerappan was an example he gave us yesterday. And he showed how governments sometimes are in a back foot when it comes to handling these things. He presented very other thing. So you have touched a very important point. Please let us listen to our speakers, Surendraji. And you have connected very nicely yesterday's point to today's. And then we will come back to just discuss a little more about this Biodiversity Act. It's very, very important, not only for the industry, but also for the educational system, for students to understand this across many areas. So Surendraji, please stay with us because we need your guidance as with this discussion goes. Saikat ji, namaskar.
Namaskar for giving me the opportunity to.
Thank you, Jivi, because you always come up with very, very important points because you know the ground reality and the challenges. Let us listen to Saikat ji, and then we will have Shradha ji joining from Maharashtra.
Like, am I the first speaker? Should I
You are the first speaker, Saikat ji, please.
Okay,
the floor is yours.
Just give me 1 minute. Okay.
So Surendraji has raised a very, very important point. Now the question is, Jairam Ramesh ji is passionate about biodiversity, but does he have all the facts in terms of what is the ground reality? He is there in Parliament. Does he have all the facts of ground reality? And how is he able to engage not just nationally, within the states, nationally, within the region, and also outside the country? So these are important questions. So Saikat ji will give us his interpretation of a vision seen from Canada. Namaskar ji.
Thank you. Can I start now?
Please, floor is all yours.
Okay,
Sir, if you can,
so
Saikat ji, once again, a request, if you can stabilize your mobile phone so that
it is
the
okay
image
now?
is not. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, I extend my sincere gratitude to you all because being an Ayurvedic organization, you're expanding and reaching other frontier areas. And I think this is extremely helpful for a
Saikat ji, could I correct you? We are not an Ayurveda organization.
No, sorry.
We are an organization that looks at all aspects of Ayush systems. We look at clinical research, we look at good clinical practice, we look at good agriculture practice. So we take a 360-degree view on all of these aspects. So
and this is very, very much appreciated. Thanks for correcting me. It's because we need now to have a multidisciplinary perspective in everything that we are trying to do. We need experts from various fields to give us their interpretation for any big policies to be formulated. Now, on this auspicious World Biodiversity Day, first I will give you an overall scenario of the biodiversity and the challenges, and then whatever I think some of the solutions are, and then we can have our interactions. If I cross my time, please do not hesitate to stop me. If you have any question or if I am crossing the time, please do not hesitate to stop me at that particular point of time. Thank you. So biodiversity, I'm not going to explain the terms or go into the deep technical details of it, but the most important part that I want to highlight is it's the collection of all species, of all biological species that is present in one particular biogeographical area. And based on this, we have classified the world into various categories of mega biodiverse nations. And it is a great pride for us, both as an Indian as well as Asians, that we have one of the largest number of biodiverse countries from this continent, which are mega biodiverse country, which means they have unique biodiversity, large concentration of species that are not seen in any other parts of the world. And what are these? This is China, this is India, this is Philippines, this is Indonesia and Malaysia from here. And there is also Papua and New Guinea. And from the continent of North America, there is only United States, which has a unique biodiversity because United States runs between latitudes from low to high. As a result, they have a wide diversion of agroclimatic and ecological zones, which has given rise to a wide diversity of species in the United States. So it appears quite a bit of strange that United States is one of the largest mega biodiverse country in the world, but it is. They have a wide diversity of species, even being located in a continent that is mostly cold. Secondly, Brazil is another mega biodiverse country from South America, together with Venezuela. And I think Colombia is now being integrated also as a part, along with Mexico. And in African continent, we have South Africa and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The heart of Africa, Congo, the Congo River Basin is unique with its tropical rainforest and harbors one of the largest diversity of species on Earth. That includes insects, that includes various species of plants, that includes from mammals to everything that we could imagine, including the island of Madagascar. Now, with all this scenario that we have in and around us, you will, as I have mentioned yesterday, is that the biodiversity is always spectacular where the temperature is high. It's particularly around the tropics and subtropics around the globe. So any country which is in and around the tropics or the subtropic region up to the subtemperate areas, they will be more biodiverse than those countries that are more polar in their origin and nature. For example, Canada is circumpolar. It has a large number of species, but it is nothing compared to what India or China would have. Now, having said that, I would like to highlight an important point, and this is a political statement, and I apologize, is that in spite of being one of the mega biodiverse country of the world, if one country can be identified who is responsible for the global destruction of biodiversity across the world, and I will explain why, this is China. The biggest criminal nation that is responsible for the destruction of biodiversity, not only inside China, but all along the Asian continents, all along the poor developing countries in Africa and Southern America, and now they have infiltrated into Europe and even North America. Now, why this is happening, I have mentioned yesterday too, that China has a huge dependence on traditional source of medication. You want to say something?
Saikat, apologies, there's some background noise.
Okay.
Sutapa Bardan could, thank you. Please continue, apologies, we want to hear.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. So it is important to understand why am I pointing towards China as the greatest culprit in the destruction of species around the world. It's because over the years, China was a communist country. Over the years, they have changed and transformed their economy. It's an autocratic nation. It's no longer a socialist country or a communist nation, but it has a central autocratic system of administration and a huge billion-plus population that is dependent on traditional forms of medicine. Now, this is not just like Ayurveda. There is a significant difference between Ayurveda, Tibetan form of medicine, or indigenous medicine from other countries compared to China, in the fact that Chinese medicine uses a significant amount of animal products. And some of them are stupid animal products. And latest research around in every corner of the world has highlighted that these products have no medicinal value. It has only traditional value. It has only a placebo effect. But because the people in China are so inclined towards it, there is a huge demand for these products, which they cannot always harvest from China. In spite of being a mega biodiverse country, they have been destroying the forests. They have been harvesting species around from their country. And still, because it's such a large population, and China has become powerful, economically independent in various sectors because of their manufacturing hub. It has transformed into a global manufacturing hubs. So now to increase their need and passion for other species that they like to have as source of medicine and as source of wild food, they have open arms and money towards other countries where they're procuring, small baby animals as pets. Animals like tigers, they're collecting tiger hair, bones, cartilages, tiger penis, tiger's urine, tiger blood, tiger cornea, which extensive research has proved this has nothing to do with any kind of medicinal application other than just bullying people. But because of this inclination of so much rare endangered species of whether it's rhinoceros, whether it's giraffe, pangolin, if you know, like the species that is found only in the continent of Africa, they have 3 species down there. And in the continent of Asia, we have 2 species here. One is called the Chinese pangolin and one is called the Indian pangolin. In India, we find both species. And these species are being devastated because China is the only country that consumes the meat of pangolin. I do not know whether pangolin meat is so cherishable or so edible or so fantastic, but at the same time, they use the scales of the pangolin and crush them into powder and use in various kind of Chinese traditional medicinal formulation. Now, because of this over-exploding need for pangolins, they have been sending money, they have been sending their business authorities and businessmen. Sometimes they go as disguise of the government, or there is work going on behind the curtain under the table of the government to procure this, because there is a huge demand for these among the Chinese communities. So, like, it has gone so bad that pangolin is now considered the most trafficked animal on the entire planet. All over the world, right? Which I mean that from Asian countries and from African countries, these, such cute animals and mammals are being harvested so regularly, so rampantly, so devastatingly, that they are being pushed to the verge of extinction just because of one country. And although the government says they are taking steps, they are actually not, because the central people in that government actually are involved hand in glove in this trade. And in addition to China, there are some of these bush meat markets available in some parts of Southeast Asia, and one of them is Indonesia, another is Vietnam and Cambodia. And you will also find bush meat is a traditional diet in many African countries. But if we look into the traditional medicine application, not just in India with the use of Ayurveda, if you even go to other countries in South America, Central America, various African countries, medicinal application that indigenous people use are 99% plant-based or mineral-based. In very rare cases, animals are being used as a part of medication or as a part of medicinal part, because they also have significant side effects, not like plant phytochemicals. But in case of the China and in Chinese traditional medicine, they have both application of plants and animals, and they are aggressive, and they are doing everything that they could under their power to procure this from other countries. I'll give you one more example from China. Recently in China, elephant skin has become a very popular item. It's not for eating or edible. I do not know for 100% sure that whether it is used for edible purposes, but I do know that elephant skin is now being harvested from various countries, particularly in Southeast Asia, countries like Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, wherever they have elephants and wherever there is strong Chinese influence, they are harvesting elephants. They used to kill them previously for the tusks and the bones, but now because elephant skin has become very popular, so they will skin the animal, collect the skin, send it to China through trafficking routes, and then these are being used and processed, mixed with dyes and other industrial products to make certain kind of elephant skin beads. And then these are used in delicate jewelries. It has become a choice of the century now in China. It's becoming increasingly popular. How did we get to know this? It is because IUCN in their investigation found that across the Southeast Asian countries, they're finding the dead bodies of harvested elephants where their tusks has been removed and the skin has been skinned from the animal. And many times they found that many of these animals actually didn't die when the skinning process was done. It was peeled off while they were severely injured. And no medication, no help. Under extreme brutality, these animals are being killed for something so foolish and stupid as jewelry, when we have such a huge number of gemstones and other precious metals available for ornamenting ourselves. Is being practiced in China. All over the world, ivory has been branded. In China is the only country where they superficially call that ivory has been branded. But actually, ivory is in very, very high demand in China. China, like India, has outstanding craftsmen who can carve out extremely good figures out of ivory. And it's still the ivory around the world, which is harvested from Africa to Asia, from Asian countries, all are going into a single market in China. Now, this is a dangerous trend. And as we know that now the entire world is being held through political powers and geopolitical strategies, because most countries have China as their major trading partner. Most of the even progressive Western aggressive democracies keep their mouths silent. and they are not saying anything. They are not pushing the Chinese government to take proper actions. You have seen it during the pandemic too. China didn't provide any information or any relevant information about the spread of the virus from China, and nothing much was being done, or no sanctions was made on China, where there are sanctions every day going on Russia while they're fighting the war. I'm not supporting the war, but I'm just saying that we have different standards for different countries. And why is it that? Is it because China is becoming an increasing trading partner? And that trading partner is not a friendly partner. That's an enemy in disguise. They're infiltrating countries, dumping their products, devastating waste materials. Like, for example, jaguar in South America is a what do you call it? Is a cat family member which looks like leopard and has been a primary consumer in their South American ecosystem, and it is present from down south of United States to the end of Argentina and Chile. They inhabit a wide number of habitats. I mean, there has been time where the jaguar population went down due to hunting and stuff, but recently reports indicate that the jaguar population is being poached in various South American countries where we have shady governments, which are not politically stable, governments which are not answerable to the people, and there has been significant Chinese investments in this country. They are sending specially trained shooters from the army to get in and shoot these helpless animals, which are the prime consumers of those ecosystems, and then collecting their bones, their teeth, and everything for either delicate jewelry or particularly for the use of Chinese traditional medicine. We have heard about marine pollution, we have heard about plastic pollution. Very few of us possibly have heard about the great ocean plunder that China is doing. They're exploiting and killing as much octopus, as a food sources or for the source of medicine, seahorses, dolphins, whales, and whatnot in such a significant number to feed the population, which is also a delicacy product. It gives you a big money. It is not that a country does not have poultry, does not have livestock. It's not that it's not a poor country that cannot provide people with a conventional source of meat and eggs like ducks, chicken, quail, turkey, whatnot, beef, pigs, ham, whatever you want is available in China. But in spite of that, there is a tremendous craze for wild food, wild bush meat. So this is devastating the animal species in China in spite of being a mega biodiverse country. But it is not only just restricted within the international borders of China. It is moving into countries where they are under the spheres of influence of China, and also countries which take extensive loans or are economically supported by China, where they're exploiting their natural resources to a point that it is now turning into an irreversible damage to the ecosystem. So if one country around the world is so vicious and no other countries are taking this to the United Nations, you will never have a security discussions on that. There is no time, no countries even blaming China, where everyone knows that this one country is the responsible for the destruction of the mass global depletion of biodiversity. No one is pointing any fingers towards them because of their political and economic interests. But this is going to haunt us down the line. With loss of every single species, we are also pushing us towards our own extinction. So this is one of the factors why this is happening. Number two is in other African countries where there is a huge need for bushmeat. It's a failure of the government and the economy, where there is a genuine, supply of fresh meat or cheap protein supply that the people can eat. And because they were traditionally dependent on their forest resources, they're still going back to the forest. If you go to Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, any other countries which is in the tropical west, where they have huge number of diversity of species, they are being harvested. And it's not one or two species. It includes animals that we cannot even think that we will be able to eat. It includes, big snakes like pythons and those ones. It includes crocodiles. It includes alligators, it includes bats, we only know about Chinese eating bats. Bats are popular in Indonesia, in Vietnam, Cambodia, even in many African countries, and even among Australian Aborigines. Anyways, so from bats to foxes, to even like where they have carnivorous animals, bears and whatnot, whatever they can lay their hand upon, they're poaching and they're eating even gorilla meat. Like, the Virunga Mountains are now threatened that the mountain gorilla will not survive for another 30 years because they are being poached, not just for, furs or trophies or for baby gorillas to be sold in the zoos and stuff, or for private collectors in the Middle East who has a habit of having live zoos of their own. You know now that zoos cannot buy things from external sources. Around the world, the international norm is that zoos must exchange animal species among themselves. Why this has been done is to cut down the practice of harvesting animals from the wild, and also that we can keep a track of the genetic quality of the species that you are exchanging among the zoos around the world. But in spite of that, around Middle East, people who have extensive money and they do not know what to do with that, has a fascination for establishing private zoos. And these people will pay significant amount of monies to collect animal species from countries which are poorer, underdeveloped or developing, and then get them into their zoos. And these includes baby chimpanzees to baby foxes to baby primates from Brazilian forest and whatnot. One of the animals which has been impacted very seriously because of the pet trade in India are the various primate species, like, babies of golden langur or other northeastern species, the hollow gibbon, because they look so cute. The sloths, the sun bear, which are very, very cute when they look young, and then they are harvested, various species of freshwater turtle, fishes, everything that they can. But the worst impacted in case of India is the red panda. This is found in the central sanctuary in the Darjeeling area, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, and in parts of Assam. Is to be found in Meghalaya. There hasn't been much report of this red panda from Meghalaya very recently. But why these red pandas are being, trapped and captured is that they have a very high international market for baby pandas because they are so cute, they look so lovely with their red furry coat, and these are actually not related to pandas. Pandas are very much related to a species called the North American raccoons. So, but they are so cute, they are very highly sought after in the Western countries and also in private zoos and also in China. So you can well understand that a mom, whether it's a wild mother or it's a human, they do not want to give their babies so easily. So your heart will ache that to collect one such baby species, they will kill 3 to 5 adults so that they can harvest one live baby and take it and sell it into the illegal market. So not only do the babies, and what happens to these babies? Most of the time, unfortunately, does not even reach the customers. Most of the time during the extreme perilous transportation they have to undergo across the international borders, they usually die on the way. So for collection or for the passion of a few rich people, 10 to 15 rare endangered red panda is dying. So, and then there has been acute deforestation in every parts of the planet. And with respect to India, the bamboo forest across in northeastern states of India has been ravaged, devastated. The mangrove forest has been devastated in West Bengal. And we are seeing impacts of that in having severe cyclones impacting the coastal areas, is because we do not have the mangrove cover anymore, which used to reduce the wind speed. Nature provided a screen for us so that the heavy cyclones or the nor'westers that are generated naturally on the Bay of Bengal does not come and hit the coastal areas so severely as they do it now. But because of our greed, this is so much greed of establishing fisheries along the coastal areas that we've been wiping out extensive areas of mangrove vegetations. And as the matter is, you'll have to face the consequences when this happens. And we are having regular cyclonic impact, devastating cyclonic impacts in the coastal areas that is costing both human lives as well as in properties and destroying agriculture and other areas. So if you take each of these examples day to day from our life, day to day from every part of our ecosystem, you will see this is, and I'm not just blaming India. This is not the story of India only. This is happening around the world. This is happening in both developed and developing countries. Yes, in developing countries, which are poor countries, they are economically unstable, politically unstable, and at the same time, they have rich biodiversity. They are impacted more because a significant part of the rural population or people who live in the fringe forest areas, due to loss of economy, due to loss of, due to unemployment, due to political instability, and even huge amount of genocides, people are moving into the forest to save their lives. I will remind you of the fact that we all know about the Rwanda genocide, where a few million people were killed. as a conflict between Hutu and Tutsi tribes. Significant amount of people flying through these war zones took shelter in the forest, and this extensively damaged forest in and around Rwanda, Burundi, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, where a large section of the people migrated. They had nothing to eat, so they have been eating wild animals. They have been eating chimpanzees, bonobos, every kind of African antelopes that they could find, because people need to survive. But why this happened is because of political instability. People are trying to grab. One group is trying to completely eradicate another group and establish their supremacy, which is impossible to establish, but at the same time, they're destroying society, humanity, as well as all our natural resources. Coming to our natural resources, natural resources are finite. If we do not use them judiciously, we are bound to go pay a very serious payment for that. So if we are harvesting trees from the forest, if we are building infrastructure within forest or adjoining forest areas, you need to replant trees. And how are we replanting trees? This is a very interesting case that I found from India. There is a famous road that connects Kolkata to the border of Bangladesh, and it's called Petropol on the Indian side and Banglapol on the Bangladesh side. And what is happening, this road is called Joshore Road, and there was a plan for extension of the road, but this road had historic giant trees on all along the edges, and the constructors were asked to replace 1:5 trees. What they did, they cut down those heavy big trees, and instead they planted 5 saplings of tulsi. Now, can 5 tiny species of tulsi replace one gigantic tree that has been a part of the ecosystem for such a long time? But they have fulfilled their requirement. So by taking one big banyan tree, they have placed 5 tulsi plants, and they have followed the 1:5 ratio, and those tulsi plants died in 3 days after they were planted. So technically, we have followed the assertions. Technically, we have followed what we need to do, but it's actually a farce. We are actually not doing what we need to do. What we need to do is not 1:5. I would say we need to do 1:100 or 1:150, and you have to make sure at least 50% of these plants are surviving. Like, in our country and in other areas, we take a great pride on the June 5th, the World Environment Day and other days to plant trees, celebrities coming in and they're putting trees, taking pictures. We are so proud that we are doing that. But that tree, if you follow that life cycle of the tree, you will find that on that same place, the tree has died within the next 3 or 5 days, because no one cared to pour a little amount of water for the trees to survive. Or even if you will see, they're having wrong species in wrong areas. So like in Rajasthan, they're putting, say, a fancy ornamental plant. Our minister is putting down there and saying, we are planting trees. So how stupid we are that we even do not know what plants we need to put in, or how to care for those plants, and how much ratio of the plants we need to maintain down the line, so that we get the benefit of planting. There is a lot of planting going on in India and other parts of the country, but what is not going on is a monitoring and re-evaluation of the fact that how much you are planting and actually how much is regenerating into the forest. If nothing is regenerating, and if you plant crores of seeds of plants, it's a useless practice. You are wasting money, but we are actually not generating forest. You have heard about the example of the forest man from Assam who single-handedly created a giant forest, which has now attracted tigers and rhinoceros of its own. We need these kind of challenges to be filled in. Urban areas, social areas, rural areas where we have open spaces, we need to bring social forestry down in them, not just by planting eucalyptus plant, but by planting native indigenous plants which used to grow there, to try and replace them. Eucalyptus comes from Australia, and it's a dry country, and these plants are not used to extensive supply of water. Eucalyptus root can go very deep down into the groundwater table. In many places in India, where because it's a very easy plant to grow and you do not need to make much maintenance, people put in the eucalyptus plants. It's a species, but it's not a very helpful species, because its roots goes down into the water table, and they significantly withdraw a significant amount of water compared to other indigenous trees, particularly in that areas. And eucalyptus leaves, when they drop on the ground, they take a significant, because of the high concentration of oil there, it takes them a longer time for their degradation into the soil. And because they have been planted mostly in extremely dry areas, these leaves usually dry into a dry fuel matter, and they are just waiting for a forest fire to happen. So
Saikat ji, I'm going to stop you. I'm going
Sure.
to stop you here and give you just a few minutes to round up and bring it to
Sure.
closer to the point of unique biodiversity. And you've touched on many valuable points. I'm just going to guide you
Sure.
towards just winding down and bringing us to some,
Sure. So the crux of the point is this, that while we cherish the dream of having biodiversity, we are actually pushing biodiversity slowly towards extinction. One species means the extinction of others. One particular plant, when is extinct, is also taking with it those animals, those insects that are exclusively dependent on that plant. Similarly, it is true for plant, vice versa. So unless there is an international cooperation between border adjoining states, by which I mean unless there is written agreements between India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Thailand, Burma, whoever and wherever you are, where you work towards a joint forest management, it is not possible to control and help biodiversity to thrive in these regions. Why? Because we have a wide number of migratory species that cross the borders across the countries. We have a lot of ethnic continuity along our international borders, which needs to be recognized. And on either side of the borders, we need to include these people to help in conservation. Only forest guards and forest officers will never be able to help, or environmentalists or ecologists will never be able to bring successful conservation of unique biodiversity of species at the ground level. It is those ordinary people that live in and around those areas whose part and parcel of life is going into the forest. We have to include in our conservation equation of preserving unique biodiversity species the human factor. If the people living in and around the forest are extremely impoverished, suffering from abject poverty, they will be increasingly dependent on the forest resources, and they can be easily manipulated by dark forces to use forest resources or to help other forces to exploit our natural resources. They will be falling into the mishands that will further destroy and deplete our biodiversity. So I request everyone with folded hands that whenever you design a policy for biodiversity conservation, put the human factor in that equation. Without taking the consideration, without improving the condition of the people living around those high biodiversity hotspot areas, the tribes, the ethnic groups, the aboriginals, we are never be able to make significant changes to our biodiversity conservation efforts. Thank you. And if you have any question, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Saikat ji. Thank you so much for for sharing this. I think you can see very clearly overlap between the Biodiversity Acts and the issues and implementation issues that Surendraji raised, and something that you're pointing us towards. So once again, thank you so much for opening up this issue, showing the geopolitics and the global issues here. Please stay with us as we move forward to our next and further speakers. I take this opportunity to invite Shradha ji joining us from Maharashtra. Shradha ji, thank you so much for joining us today. Please tell us a little bit about yourself. You're new to the platform. Our audience would like to know a little more about yourself. And the floor is yours. Thank you.
Good evening, all. I'm Dr. Shradha. I've done my BMS from Udupi. I hope you know Udupi, Karnataka.
Yes, very well.
And my post-graduation from Bangalore, and my PhD from Banaras Hindu University.
So I just want to clarify, is this SDM Udupi?
Yeah, SDM Udupi.
And in Bangalore, where were you?
Government Ayurvedic College, Medical College.
Oh, very good. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And with, let me just see if my presentation can be shared.
Thank you for joining us today, Shradha.
Thank you.
You have traveled across the country. I assume you're originally from Maharashtra, but you went to Karnataka and then you went to Bangalore.
I'm originally from Udupi.
You're originally from Udupi. Oh, wonderful.
Just a moment, sir.
We are missing your principal, Acharya ji. And
Srinivas Acharya, sir.
Srinivas Acharya ji was a very important man for us, but somehow we lost him.
He was my guru.
He was your guru. Very nice, because we get many of his sishyas in our presentations. Are you able to connect your?
No presentation, so I'll just.
Now in Bangalore, you were with Ahalya ji, Ahalya Sharma.
Ahalya ma'am. Yes.
Oh, thank you. Wonderful. We are all connected in some ways. We're all part of that big family. Thank you. Bangalore, the Government Ayurveda College has a very, very old tradition, both Ayurveda and also Sanskrit scholarship. Shradha, could you connect with your?
Oh, no, sir. Just give me a moment.
I hope you have permission to, do you need permission or?
No, it's not being visible on my PC. I just change my PC.
From our side, all permissions are
All
there.
permissions. Thank you, Paji. We're also curious how you came into this world of biodiversity, because in Bangalore, yesterday we were talking about FRLHT in Yelahanka and the resources they maintain there for particularly medicinal plants. But as Saikat ji says, we have to take a slightly more wider perspective on diversity, biodiversity. While Shradha is loading up Saikat ji, once again, I want to thank you for reminding us about the ways in which we have to look at biodiversity, not just locally, regionally, but also that global perspective that you're saying. I hope when we come to the question answer section, you'll be able to tell us a little more about what you have seen from the Canadian perspective on how these issues are being raised in political discussions and government-to-government discussions. When we come to the discussion section, we'd love to hear a little more. And I think Surendraji might also have some thoughts about this. Because Surendraji, I don't know if you heard Surendraji's comment that there is a Biodiversity Act and there are discussions going on how to make it more effective. I'm curious to see how the global perspectives can be implemented so that we are aware of discussions going on in different parts of the world and the kind of challenges that are there. Is it working, Shradha?
So just give me a moment.
Oh, good. You can see two of you here. Very good. Wonderful, thank you. Shradha, is it possible to put it on a presentation mode? You have prepared a lot of very valuable slides. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Shradha. We cannot hear you. Your audio signal Shradha, we cannot hear you. Shradha, we cannot hear your.
Now, sir.
Yes, very echoey. Could you go back to your first slide? Because we have lost about a minute of your. And if you come back to presentation mode, and then can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, very echoey. You have to turn, I see you're using two systems. You will have to turn the microphone off on one of the two systems.
Now, sir.
Yes, but you're echoey. You have to turn the microphone off on one of your systems.
Okay.
Shradha, could you test your audio again? Shradha, are you there?
Hello, sir. Is it still echoing?
We can hear you, but the quality, there is an echo, but let us continue. We'll live with it because when you come to view our archive, you will be disappointed that the quality was not good. So, but please let us continue.
Okay, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
The floor is all yours. We look forward to your presentation.
With reference to Lord Dhanvantari and all the stalwarts present here, I would like to present on biodiversity with reference to ASA drugs. That is Ayurvedic, Siddha and Unani drugs. Biodiversity.
Shradha, apologies. Shradha, the quality of your audio, we cannot hear it clearly. Your presentation is visible, but the quality of your audio is not good enough. Could you try again? No.
Madanji, would it not be possible to send all these PPTs to Pavanji and she start giving presentation?
Yes, this is another. Thank you.
That would be more better.
Thank you. Shraddhaji, there is another choice. If you are having difficulty presenting this, could you send the presentation to myself or to Pavanji, and then we can present it from here. Apologies for this, Domaji. Thank you for suggesting.
one another thing, there is echoing.
Echoing,
That is-
exactly. And there's a crackly, the audio signal is very crackly and it's not visible, not clear. Shradha, if you're not able to present right now, could I request for you to send the presentation? We will set it up for you. And while that is happening, Kiran, who is here with us, can share a few words. Shradha? Shradha, there is a problem with your audio signal. So what I suggest is you send, I'm going to send you my email address. I don't know whether yours is a large file. You've got 68 slides, I can see. If it's, could you send that file across and then I can display it from my screen while you talk through it. Shradha, could you stop sharing your screen? And we want to hear your audio. Your slides look all right, but we can't hear your, there's a problem with your audio signal. Shradha, can you hear us? So please send it to this Gmail address. And I can present this from here. In the meanwhile, Kiran, namaskar.
Namaskar, sir.
Can you hear me, Kiran?
Yes, sir.
The floor is all yours. Kiran, I know you are not in FRI right now, but thank you so much for joining us today. The audience would love to know a little more about the plant, the unique, I would call it a very unique biodiversity, aspect of biodiversity, in that you're working with a plant that you are working towards for your PhD. It has a very interesting seed oil, and that high value seed oil. I've prepared a few slides while we were listening to Saikat ji, and I'm going to present this on the screen, and you can improvise as you go along. If you can tell me if my screen is visible.
Yes.
There we are. That's your first slide, and the floor is all yours.
Yes, sir. Okay. So first of all, namaskar to all. I'm Kiran Chauhan, PhD scholar at FRI, means Forest Research Institute, Dehradun. I'm working. First of all, I would like to thank you, Madan sir, for giving this opportunity to me to present my work or say something about my work. So I'm working on Principia utilis, commonly known as Himalayan cherry, and locally it is known as Bhikal, Bhekoi, and so many others names. This species belongs to Rosaceae family, and it is found mainly in Himalayan mountains. And it is also in so many countries like China, Bhutan, Tibet, India, especially. And in China, it is used as folk medicine. Also in India, and in China, it has been used in medicine, food, and cosmetics. But in India, it is lesser known till now. So my objective was to explore this plant. And yeah, so first of all, what I did, my second objective was to check the variation, to evaluate the variation of yield in oil and its composition from different location of India, like different states like Himachal and Uttarakhand. So I collected seeds from these two states and checked the variation and found variation in the yield from 29 to 44%, which is a highly oil yielding plant. So then next was to evaluate its chemical composition, and I found 4 chemical composition in the oil, like palmitic oil, linoleic oil, acids, linoleic acid, oleic acid, and stearic acid. And the ratio between saturated and unsaturated was 1:3. Means this oil contained high unsaturated fatty acids, which is good and can be used as edible oil and many other applications. Second thing was to evaluate its superior location. Means once we identify the oil yield, then the highest oil yield plant location, we will call it as superior location. Then we had to check its quality parameters, physicochemical parameters for its commercial utilization. Third thing was to assess its in vitro and in vivo biological activities. And since this plant has been used in India and China as folk medicine to treat various diseases such as skin diseases, inflammation, rheumatic pain, and so many others. So we had to validate this traditional uses by examine its biological activities. तो हमने सर ये इन विवो इन विट्रो दोनों एक्टिविटीज करी इन्फ्लामेशन की एंड फाउंड वेरी गुड रिजल्ट्स. सो ये एक वैलिडेट करता है. सेकंड थिंग, हमें इसका फंक्शनल परफॉर्मेंस भी चेक करनी थी. तो सर हमने एक सोप बनाया है by cold press method से, which is natural मतलब pure organic. हमने pure organic composition इसमें यूज किया है, प्लस without giving heat. तो इस बहुत अच्छा सोप बना भी है. एंड इसके पैरामीटर्स जो हमने चेक किए थे, लाइक क्रीमीनेस, लेदर फॉर्मिंग एंड सॉफ्ट या हार्डनेस, ये सब चेक करके हमने इवेलुएट करी ये सब पैरामीटर्स. एंड अभी अंडर क्यूरिंग है.
Kiran ji, thank you so much for joining us today. Number one, I thought this will be a good platform for you to just what you have done today, just present a little bit about your work, because not many people know about this plant. And important plant, very hardy plant. It can grow in the mountains. It can withstand very, very low temperatures, up to -20, -30. It can withstand and still produce a valuable product, and a very medicinally important oil, and also useful in, as you have now said, just as a cooking oil. It can be used for making soaps. And it's an expression of how a plant that can grow in extreme climates where nothing else will grow can be used. It's in terms of today's theme, it's very unique in terms of the plant, also in terms of the biodiversity. There is a lot you have explained to us today, the natural variation there that is for the total oil content in the seeds. Kiran ji, are you able to open your camera on your phone?
Yes, sir.
हो सकता है कि नहीं?
Yes.
शाबाश. आप कहाँ से जुड़ रहे हो आज? घर से?
मैं विलेज आई थी अपने चक्राता.
गांव के बारे में थोड़ा बताना जी. हमें I find.
Sir, actually,
Okay, you can turn your camera off. थोड़ा bandwidth का problem अभी I've seen you कहाँ है, घर में है, गांव में. थोड़ा गांव के बारे में थोड़ा बताना जी, क्योंकि हमारे साथ है अग्निहोत्री जी, and I would like.
Yes, sir. Professor Madan sir, I can put a direct question. Kiran ji, from where you have did your graduation and post graduation?
Actually,
sir, I'm postgraduate.
Yeah, but from where? Which institute, which college?
Sir, DAV PG College, Dehradun.
DAV PG College, okay. And your native place is? What is your native place?
Chakrata, sir.
Chakrata.
Chakrata. There's a village.
Chakrata means this one.
अग्निहोत्री जी आपका आवाज कट गया जी थोड़ा सा.
This Dehradun and towards Mussoorie.
Sir, Mussoorie वाला route अलग हो गया sir.
I know.
Chakrata.
My younger son used to go by bike, and Chakrata, from where Chakrata, Rajma is very important. 3-4 types of Rajma is available. He always brings that Rajma seed, very tasty one. Okay, so you are doing your PhD in FRI
Yes,
with these special seeds. Okay, so kind of you. Okay, thank you.
Agnihotri ji, and for all our audience, the first time I met Kiran ji was when she was presenting her initial PhD studies. And I had asked a question about unique biodiversity and how you will use this. And today you have given us the answer, Kiran ji. You have given us an answer of how you have converted this into a soap. The oil can be used for a soap. I'm so happy you have joined us. In offline, I want you to connect with Agnihotri ji to just, if you possible, invite Agnihotri ji to Dehradun, to FRI, so that he can also interact with people there, and for you to also visit.
So you all are here. Welcome, sir. Please come visit Uttarakhand.
Yes, we look forward to being with all of you in Uttarakhand. So, Kiran ji, thank you so much for joining today, and let us move on to, please stay with us because there will be questions about the plant. So please stay with us.
Yes, sir.
While we move to Shradha ji. Kiran, this is what I find beautiful here. Aap baithe hai gaon mein.
Yes, sir.
ऋषिकेश में, देहरादून की, और अभी है हमारे साथ लंदन से, और श्रद्धा जी बैठे महाराष्ट्र में, and we are talking as one community, you know. And this is the power of this internet. Domaji is joining us from Telangana, and Gogia ji is joining us from some other location. And so this is the power, and we want to have more of these interactions. And this is one of the ways in which we will understand natural diversity, unique biodiversity, using the power of technology, using the power of interactions. So, Kiran, thank you for joining us today. Please stay with us because there will be some questions as we go along. Surinder ji might still be here with us, or Naveen ji might have some questions for you. Please stay with us. Thank you, ji. We now, Shradha, the floor is back to you. I hope you could resolve. We want to see your wonderful slides. You have a lot of valuable information.
I have sent a slide on your mail, sir.
Thank you. Let me see.
Because I could not open it to my...
Okay, now your voice is very clear and we can hear you very, very clearly. And thank you. Sorry that there was some problem with your audio signal and loading up the screen. Now, I hope I can do, bear with me. Apologies again for the delay. I'm just trying to see if I'm able to download this. Kiran, I have a question for you. How come you are at home today and not in Dehradun?
So I'm not able to hear you.
How
I
come
think-
you are at home today? घर में कैसे हो आज आप गांव में?
एक्चुअली एक फंक्शन है घर में.
अच्छा जी.
Yes, sir. तो आना पड़ा.
अच्छा ठीक है.
Yes, sir.
Sabash. I'm happy you could join, and you have, by connecting from the village, you have shown us the power of this technology, you know. So is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Shradha, is my screen visible?
No, sir.
Not yet. It'll come up now.
No, no, sir.
No, is it okay? Tell me when it's visible.
Okay.
Apologies to all for this slight delay, because Shradha has some really wonderful information in her slides, so we want to see it in great detail. Shradha, there we are. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Acha. Tell me when to move to the next slide and I will move it along.
With due respects to all the stalwarts here, I'll be talking a little about biodiversity. Maybe we can go ahead with a few of the initial slides because they are basics. So biodiversity, as we all know, it is basically the variety and the variability of living organisms. So be it terrestrial, marine, and aquatic ecosystems to give an ecological balance. Next, sir. So basically, this enriches our ecosystem, and all other organisms, like right from the lower to the higher organisms, are each one contributes to the ecosystem, and any imbalance in this will directly affect the balance of the ecosystem. So both animal and plant kingdom are essential to the existence of humans. Within a community, each one is dependent either for food or shelter or even the very existence. Next, sir. So as we know, a food web where each one, right from the grasses to the animals to the human beings, are all interdependent. The next. So the multifold values of biodiversity, right from existence, the mere existence, to the balance, to the aesthetic values, the services, the economic values, biodiversity stands very important. So what in ASU? The traditional medicinal system, which is rich or forms the basis of primary healthcare, is primarily dependent on majorly the plants, a few animal products, and the mineral products. So the biological diversity can be categorized into giving us three kinds of services: the ecological ecosystem services, which is protection of water resources, soil protection. The next, the nutrient storage, the pollution reduction, climate stability. Next, the biological resources for which we are dependent on: the food, fiber, medicines, fuel, wood. The next, the social benefits like recreation, the cultural values. Now coming to India, it is one of the 17 mega biodiversity countries, where 2.4% is the geographical, comprises of 2.4% of the geographical area of the world, and around 8% of the globally known flora and fauna species are present in India. We are also rich with different crop diversity and wild relatives also. It is also rich in traditional knowledge. There are different ecosystems in India. The terrestrial ecosystem. So if you look at the forest types, there are different forests, 16 forest types. Then we have the grasslands. So grasslands, like we have very important plants like Kusha, Kasha, which are the Saccharum varieties, Desmodium varieties of plants. And they also form an important group of combination called, which help in urinary system. We have the desert ecosystems, plants like which are very endemic plants, especially the acacia varieties, which we use in our in Ayurveda, mainly belong to the desert ecosystem. The next. And the Himalayas and the Western Ghats. These are basically the mountain ecosystems. So the Himalayas have different altitudes: the Shivalik, the outer Himalaya, the middle or lesser Himalaya, and the greater Himalaya. So each one has, based on this altitudes, the geoclimate also changes. And to each altitude, there are different plants, which commonly we refer to as Ashtavarga. Ashtavarga, which has Kakuli, Kshira Kakuli, some very important plants which goes into formulations like Chavanprash, the most important formulation which we commonly use, and many other formulations are exclusively seen in the Himalayan ranges, but at different altitudes. So the earlier slide. Like for example, if you look at the Ashtavarga, the Jivak, which is Malaxis acuminata, you can see only at an altitude of 1,400 to 2,300 meters. Rishabhak between 2,100 to 4,100 meters. Ativish, again, an important formulation which we commonly use in children, is found at 2,400 to 2,600 meters. So exclusively these plants are found at that particular range of altitude. So it is very important to maintain the ecological system. The next. And again, going to the Western Ghats, it is said that Western Ghats is much older than the Himalayan mountain ranges, and it forms one of the world's 8 hottest hotspots of biological diversity. We have other mountain ranges like Aravalis, Sheshachalam Hills, Vindhyas, which host a number of endemic plants, and they're very important for us to maintain them. The next. Then coming to the aquatic ecosystem, these also provide a range of medicines to us, like the alluvial plains, where mainly we have plants like Altananthera sessilis, which is Matsyakshi in Sanskrit. It is a good galactogog. It relieves headache. Then comes Cyprus rotundus, that is Musta, which goes into formulations, internal formulations, acts on the intestines, as well as externally also in cosmetic preparations. It is commonly used. We also have Marsilia minuta. The picture is of Marsilia minuta, which requires an aquatic ecosystem used in insomnia and spastic conditions of muscles of the leg. Neluma nucifera, which is lotus. So here lotus is, the seeds also are important source of calcium, as well as the honey, which is derived from Nelumbo, is much in demand. The next is the marine ecosystems. So the marine ecosystems, like the mangrove ecosystem, the earlier speaker, sir, has highlighted about how the destruction of the mangrove ecosystems has impacted or is affecting us with cyclones, etc. So these are the livelihoods of the coastal communities mainly depend on mangrove ecosystems, especially honey, tannins, wax is procured from these ecosystems. So we need to protect these ecosystems. And coming to the products that we usually see from the marine ecosystems, coral, which we commonly use as praval. So praval, which is derived from the skeleton of marine organism, a very good source of calcium carbonate. But in Ayurveda, when we use it for mainly pitta related conditions. And marine ecosystem provides a very rigid or very aggressive climate, like very low temperature, low pressure. So under these extreme conditions, there will be production of certain chemical constituents, which could be very useful for the body. So it is very important to maintain this ecosystem. The next. So we have this biogeographic zones of India, which are 10. So next. With the diversity of species. Next. So if you look at the different biogeographical zones of India, in the Trans-Himalayan range, we have around 700 medicinal plants, the Himalayan around 2,900, and in the Western Ghats, we have around 2,000. So these are some of the known medicinal plants. There are still to explore. So next. So sir had, so you have highlighted before about NVIS portal, which is very, very useful. It's a very good database to explore, which explains about the distribution of plants, the cultivation of plants, the regional names, as you said. So they have also given the distribution of each species, like the ashwagandha, which we are, which was in the export of which had increased during the COVID times and known as a very good immunity booster. The distribution of this is commonly seen in the areas that are highlighted. The next, sir. Again, Abitilon indicum, that is Bala, Balarishta, which we commonly use in our formulations. Again, it can be well grown in the areas that are highlighted. Even though Bala is seen in other parts, we have the varieties of Bala in the other parts of India, like Nagbal. The species, the other species of Bala are found. But Bala, which is accepted, which is Sida cordifolia, we commonly see in these particular areas. The next one. So Kokum again, which is promoted more as anti-obesity, and in Ayurveda we use commonly as Pittahar, is commonly seen in the Konkan areas of India. Krishnapalli, a very important plant of Dashamul, is again restricted, commonly can be well grown, can be cultivated in these particular regions. The next one. So there are some geo-exclusive plants, like as I told you, Shankapushpi syrup, which is popular as Medya or memory booster or improves cognition. Is the accepted species is found only mainly in desert areas, but there are other species, substitutes which are used as Shankapushpi because of its exclusive availability in the desert regions. And in Himalaya, as I told you earlier, there are Ashtavarga kind of plants which are exclusive to Himalayas. We cannot grow them at other places at all. Deccan Plateau, we have Ravolfia and Jyotishmati. These are most exclusive, even though Jyotishmati can be easily grown in other areas, but commonly seen in the Deccan Plateau. In Western Ghats, we saw the distribution of Kokum. In the Gangetic Plains, we have some exclusive plants like Acacia catachu, and we have Anogenesis latifolia. Semi-arid regions, we have Bala, Ingudi, etc. plants. So next. Similarly, we have this, so next. We have already discussed about the Himalayan plants. So next. Next. So if you look at, again, India, a biodiverse rich country, out of 35 global biodiverse hotspots, 4 hotspots are present in India, which are Western Ghats, Sundaland hotspot, Indo-Burma hotspot, Bhutan and Nepal. The next. So these are the biodiversity hotspots. The next. So here in Himalaya region, we can find around 4,000 endemic species. So there can be some discrepancy in the data because they have been collected from different sources. But tentatively, these are the number of plants, endemic plants seen in those areas. And coming to the Ayurvedic or the traditional medicine plants of India, we can see the total number of plants which are used in Ayurveda is 900, in Siddha it is 800, in Unani it is 700. So next one. And again, if you look into the addition of plants, like in Vedas, we had around 289 plants, and there has been constant addition of plants in every period. Like even currently also, even though people say there are it's Ayurvedic or non-Ayurvedic plants, it is never so, because constantly there has been addition of plants, and the folklore plants can also be considered as a vital source of traditional medicine. If you look at the demand of medicinal plants, these are around about 2,500 plant species are used, and there are around 1,587 species in Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, and these are used in different sectors of ASU, proprietary, cosmetics, nutraceuticals, aromatic oils, herbs and spices, and even for veterinary herbal products. This is derived from NMPB, that's National Medicinal Plant Board. So which actually So we can see that the estimated annual trade for many plants has been eventually increasing. So next one. So Plantago ovata, which the annual trade was 1,000 to 2,000. The price earlier was 70 to 80. Now the price has hiked to 400. 400. Again, looking at Lawsonia inermis, which is Mehendi or Madhyantika. Earlier, the price was 30 to 35. And now, if you look at the price, it has increased to 119. So there's constant demand, and even the prices are eventually rising because of the demand. Ashwagandha, which was just 60 to 70, now it is around 300 rupees because of the increased demand during COVID. Tulsi, again, which was known as antiviral, which was, earlier the rate was 20 to 25, now it's around 90. This shows the demand of medicinal plants, current demands of medicinal plants. So what are the factors which actually pose a threat to biodiversity? As we all know, destruction of forests, which has resulted in global warming, extreme weather, climatic change, the pollution, which has again increasing pests and vector-borne diseases. So IUCN, that is International Union for Conservation of Nature, which was established in 1964, actually gives us the risk status of the various animal, fungus, or plant species, and it is a critical indicator of health vulnerability. So the three categories of threatened species are vulnerable, endangered, and critical endangered. So the next slide. So the definitions we all know. So next. Sir. So this is maintained by the IUCN website as well as the FRLH team. The next. So if you look at this endangered medicinal plants, we can see that agaru is one important plant because of its cosmetic uses. Apart from just therapeutic uses, the cosmetic uses, it is almost in the endangered list. We can also see that katuki, commonly used in our formulations, is also endangered. Rakta Chandan, Pterocarpus santalinus, because to collect the hardwood, one has to wait for a certain amount of years, and it is usually destructed in between, and that is posed a threat, or it has become endangered. Next, sir. If you see a critically endangered species, we have Vasa, we have Cocinium fenestratum. Cocinium fenestratum actually is Daruharidra. So Daruharidra, the accepted species, which is commonly found in the higher altitudes, Berberis aristata. But in states like Kerala, they use this particular source, Cocinium fenestratum. So this is also critically endangered. Then there are other endangered like Ativish, Econitum heterophyllum. We have Vacha, Ecorus calamus. Then we have vulnerable like Bilva, because it is usually offered to Lord Shiva, but they should be, one should follow good collection agricultural practices at the time of collection. Unscrupulously, these plants are just used, and the roots are also used without leaving any, actually the lateral roots are supposed to be collected and leaving the main roots. So these things have to be considered. The next, sir. So next, sir. So these are some of the plants with the state-wise threat and trade retrieved from FRLHT. So they have maintained the threat status and the trading. Because of the high trade, these plants are under endangered category. So next, sir. So because of this increase in demand and endangered vulnerability of a plant to be endangered, there are a lot of reasons where the species is being adulterated, either due to high price or commercial purpose, and that actually has affected the therapeutic efficacy of the drug. For example, Dashamul, which I just quoted, Bilva, we are supposed to collect the roots of these particular trees, or the root bark especially are supposed to be collected. But these days, because it's difficult to collect the roots. Stems are used instead of roots, and this could really affect the therapeutic efficacy. The next. So these even during from the 16th century onwards itself, this biodiversity, or maybe the critical demand or the endangered vulnerability, was understood by our acharyas. So that's why they put forth some substitute drugs since then. For example, like Chitrak, they have accepted Danti as a substitute. Bakul, they have accepted Kamal as a substitute. There is significant morphological differences between these substitutes and the original drug. But because of the common karma, therapeutic use, they have been accepted as substitute drugs for the original ones. The next one. But in Ayurveda, it is said that to have proper therapeutic efficacy, it is always better that we use that particular drug in the same agroclimate as where the person is born. The next. So sometimes, so to protect our biodiversity, because there are plants which are exclusive only to those particular endemic areas, it is very important to protect those plants. So for that, one has to understand the relationship which exists between people and plants. So ethnobotany has an important role. One has to understand the local ethnicity, the cultural or the primary healthcare that the tribes or the local communities are using to reduce overexploitation, and also to enhance or sustain the livelihood of the locals. The next. So endemic plants, for example, some of the important endemic plants which were known in the recent past was Arogya Pacha, the miracle plant. So the tribes like Kani tribal community used it to combat the fatigue. So eventually this was scrutinized for its pharmacological properties, and it was found to have a lot of interesting pharmacological properties, like being an antioxidant, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory. But this then led to a threat to this particular Arogya Pacha, because once a person comes to know, people come to know, they will start using it for all economic purposes, and they don't think of the sustainability of that particular plant. Similarly, Tirumala Hills also has a lot of endemic plants, like we have Boswellia ovalifoliata, we have Terminalia pallida, which is endemic and found to have anti-inflammatory, very good anti-inflammatory agent. Boswellia acts as a mosquito repellent. The next. Very recently, last year, one of the plant like Echinops, one of Echinops species was found, which was endemic to Maharashtra. So in Ayurveda, we accept these under Ushrakantaka. Sorry for the spelling. This Ushrakantaka, which is basically a very good anti-inflammatory agent and also very good aphrodisiac. So around out of 130 species of Echinops in the world, we have found around 5 species are found in our country and 2 in Maharashtra alone. The next. So what is most important is we have to call for conservation. The government has taken several measures like National Action Plan on Climate Change, because this is impacting the climate, it is impacting the health, it is impacting the very life and sustenance of both plants and animals. The important is to educate and provide awareness to people, adopting conservation-friendly lifestyle, and encouragement of soil health, which stands very important to preserve the nutrients of the soil, and creation of communication, education, public awareness. So environmental science has been implemented from in the school, but currently even the National Council of Indian System of Medicine is trying to implement this biodiversity as a syllabus in BMS level also. So this will actually help in propagating and conserving our nature. So these can be done through different programs like eco clubs program through students, and National Nature Camp program, and different other programs like creating a network of young leaders from schools. So next, sir. Also, the government is maintaining a lot of biosphere reserves, and important is the sacred groves. Now, sacred groves, they are actually endemic, homogeneous, regional endemic plants or pockets rich with biodiversity, and they have been preserved now. For a government is taking steps to preserve the sacred groves because they are an embodiment of our culture, and they also help in preservation. So next, sir. So these are some of the documented groves in India. So here, even in sacred groves, it is mainly with the plant deities. The plants are looked upon as deities, so that people don't just harm the plants. And also, like in Ayurveda, also before collection and even before therapeutic use, we all say mantras to upscale the healing power of the plants. So here in the sacred groves, or the tribals usually perform prayers to improve the therapeutic healing of the plants. And Gautam Buddha, as we all know, got his enlightenment in under Bodhi Vriksha. So that's why it's called as Bodhi Vriksha, the people tree. As Sir told earlier, we also have this Biological Diversity Act in 2002 and Biological Diversity Rules, which was enacted in 2004, which is a three-tier system. We have the NBA, National Biodiversity Authority, and at the state level, the state biological biodiversity boards, and the local level, we have the biodiversity management committees.
Sorry.
Yes, sir. The earlier one. So the Biological Diversity Act, sir threw more light on this. I have just put the definition, and I think the implementation should be strictly implemented here and afterwards, where the foreigners, non-resident India's body, corporate, association, organization, they have to seek permission from the government before they go ahead with any of the activities, and also share the capital with the share their profits with the Indian government. The next, sir. This is an important National Medicinal Plant Board, again established by the government on 24th November 2000, which actively is engaged in coordinating between the government and a different organization, and also focuses in the in situ and ex situ conservation, promotes research and development, and also standardization through development of good and agricultural and collection practices. So next, sir. So these are conservation and protected habitats, which we all must do, like in situ and ex situ, like sacred groves, and more development of botanical gardens, conservation, seed bank genes, etc. There are some of the plant conservation areas, again retrieved from NVIS FRLHT. The next, sir. So for call for conservation is we have to, apart from just the primary healthcare that we focus on being doctors, we are also responsible for some nature-based solutions to climate through plants, like the phytoremedial plants. We can try growing more of the phytoremedial plants because there's a lot of contamination of soil and water with heavy metal, and plants like vetiver, lemongrass can be propagated. And also radiation, because constantly we are engaged with our devices which emit radiation. Plants like aloe, asparagus beetle can be promoted or can be kept in the houses, especially in case of urban societies. It is difficult to actually grow plants. So in urban societies, small plants which like aloe, asparagus beetle can be grown. which also help in preventing the radiation. To prevent soil erosion, sir?
Oh, apologies.
Yes, sir. To prevent soil erosion, we have plants like karanj, that is pongamia, mango, banyan trees, which help in preventing soil erosion. And to reduce air pollution, we have moringa. Apart from the therapeutic benefits it has, it also reduces the air pollution. Neem trees, tamarindas, one should encourage to grow such plants or plant such plants. And to improve soil fertility, we have plants. So basically, the biodiversity is for both all kinds of organisms, from the lowest to the highest, both plant and animal kingdom. And as humans, like we have to encourage primary health care, traditional practices, and also tackle with the environmental issues. And for good sustainable cultivation is also important, so that we don't lose our important plants. Next. So on the International Day, the theme being building a shared future for all life, we need to focus on this particular theme that has been declared for currently by the government. Thank you. So,
Shradha, thank you so much. You had some difficulties connecting earlier, but we would have missed this presentation and the slides and the amount of information you have offered if we couldn't have projected the slide. Thanks to Domaji for offering us the quick solution, saying please collect it from. I hadn't thought about that as an option, but here we are. We are very grateful. I give the floor now. Before I give the floor, I want to give the floor to Domaji because he touched on some points yesterday, and I think towards the end of our discussion yesterday, Domaji touched on some very important points, and you have brought them back in a very comprehensive way in your presentation today. So before I let Domaji share his thoughts, because you have covered those areas so wonderfully, I just want to highlight a few things that I could collect out of your presentation. One is the emphasis on ASU, the Ayurveda Siddha Unani plants. This is very important. And we had homeopathy people with us. They also use plants, but for some reason it remains ASU, and perhaps somebody can guide us a little bit there. You used a very important term, ecobalance, which was raised by our earlier speaker on how the interactions within the ecosystem, how different things, when you chop a big tree, an old established tree down, it is not only the plant that's being disturbed, but that big chain of interactions. There are insects there that birds feed on, and there are other things that feed on the birds, etc., etc., etc. Very, very important. And you brought out very clearly the India and biodiversity, the biodiversity in India issue very nicely. Excellent slides, again, pointing to FRLHT and other resources that are there. I liked the way you have explained to us about Ashtavargas and the different altitudes at which you have the prevalence of certain plants. And I still find it very amazing that our ancient texts from many thousands of years ago has captured all this and used it effectively. And I'm still wondering, how did they know about these things? Plants that grow predominantly at different altitudes, how they could make a yogam out of this, Now that is so amazing. It just shows the deep understanding of the nature of the land. And you talked about also cuttlefish bones, samudrafena, which is I can see Navinji smiling about this. He will have something to say about this as we give the floor as to our speakers. You talked about Bala, very important. You showed us the areas where Bala is present. There is a lot of discussion about Bala. Bala is very important, but there is a lot of controversy about where this Bala is coming from. You have shown us the biodiversity, which are the states where you can find not only Cedar cordifolia, but also the related species. You talked about the Agastya Mala, which is very important because that is where TBGRI is located, somewhere in that region. Is very, very important, And you talked about the NAPCC, very important because Chaudharyji, who was with us earlier, he touched on that aspect. For me, the sacred groves is a very strong message for the world on how India appreciates biodiversity, which is culturally sensitively handled. We need to spread this message more. And the way it comes through in my mind, that it is a model for the whole world in how we integrate so many things. Our culture, going back to the Vedas, going back to how we respect plants, the Bhumi Sukta that comes from the old Vedas, how we have brought all that together into a contemporary model which we are using it in today's, it is a practical model that is consistent with all the big areas, history, cultural sensitivity, spirituality, and this unknown aspect. You said the collector, plant collector, makes before invested, so that the strength increases, the Dravya Shakti increases. These are very subtle things, unexplored beyond contemporary science. We don't know what the science is behind this, and we have to find the science. And finally, some plants examples you gave, just to connect it with Domaji. Yesterday, Domaji mentioned about ficus, and it came through in your presentation. Domaji said, here is a plant that is so important, under which Buddha sat. You gave exactly that point today. So Domaji, the floor is yours. You have heard everything today from the wonderful presentation that Shraddhaji has given. The floor is yours for the first comments, Domaji, please. So thank you, Shraddhaji.
Madanji.
Domaji.
Dhanyavad. My namaskar to all. Today's biodiversity. The preservation of anything will be dependent on human beings only, not animal beings. If the consciousness of the human being is developed to the extent of neo-humanism, the terminology I am saying, neo-humanism. Neo-humanism, for in simple perspective, I am explaining that a human being should maintain to the extent of the livelihood around and his or her survival, basing on less extinction. This means that if at all anything is needed, at most needful to human beings according to their taste. Likely, for example, if we give a kind of education right from the institutions of following neo-humanism, that one should observe, even a babe should become a conscious of observing that less developed mind only should be utilized for the livelihood. For example, why one should become more vegetarian? I say that strictly vegetarian. Why? Because in case of Jagdish Chandra Bose's statement, the plant previous to his presentation, that mind was there in plants was not known to. But after researches, but whereas in going to the ages back, if we say we refer this thing before to Jagdish Chandra Bose also, J.C. Bose also. But whereas to the extent of today's common practice, neo-humanism, a word which has become popular and brought out also today by my Gurudeva itself, and that means that you should utilize very less डेवलपमेंट, चित्ता जहां पर डेवलप होके रहता है वहां तक ही आप लोग उपयोग करें अपने लिए. If this is practiced, it becomes a bit of preservation of anything. And at the same time, where the question of diversity of plantation or animal being is called as unique. Unique, for example, just in this presentation only, it was going on that about China. Saikat was referring about elephant skin. Before that elephant skin, there is demand of its that is उसको क्या बोलते हैं, ट्रंक, दांत जो होता है ना, उसका डिमांड आइवरी के लिए, उसके लिए तो काफी डिमांड है from ages together. For that only people are killing elephants. And likely, if there is, of course, ours has become strictly enacted in forest rules that should not be killed. Tiger skin, lion skin, and deer, even deer is also not supposed to be killed. Why? Though there is much preservation, but should be maintenance. Why? Because out of all the animals, deer is very conscious developed. For example, a babe born immediately, it will not be at your hand to pick up. That is the highest development of consciousness is there in deer. That is why it should be preserved. Likely, in all the things, whatever is needful to maintain as uniquely should be to the teaching of the human beings, which should be based on neo-humanism. Thank you very much.
Domaji, thank you so much, because on the chat box, I have put something about the Ananda Marg Gurukula. And one article I have put there about what is neo-humanism and what is neo-humanist education. And at the bottom of that page, gurukul.edu, is the information about Ananda Marg Gurukul network that is running across the world. And I'm so happy to see, I will point this to Stina ji, that there is a office in Sweden, also College of Neo-Humanist Studies in Sweden. I hope Stina ji is listening to us on YouTube, or maybe when she comes to the recording, she will connect with this organization. I'm so happy that you have joined us today, Domaji. You are always with us, but I'm happy that you have raised that one phrase about neo-humanism and neo-humanism education. Thank you so much. Before the floor, I want to pass the floor to Naveen Gupta ji, who's here with us. Naveen ji, namaskar, pranam ji. Naveen ji, always a very important part of our discussions. And Naveen ji appreciates deeply Shradha ji. Naveen ji appreciates very deeply your presentation and invites you to join a small discussion, to revisit your presentation and to discuss some points. So that is one issue where we will be discussing your presentation with so many valuable details and so wonderfully structured. The floor is for Naveen ji. Naveen ji, namaskar.
It's not about the floor, sir. Namaskar. So I cannot see my screen. Screen is from
Paman ji, yes. Sharing screen about our event Kal ke liye, 23rd of May, palliative care in Ayush. This is our event tomorrow. There are 3
Only
speakers.
has to change the screen now, please.
Varanasi, Malaysia,
yes.
And
so
there
good.
We are. Paman,
good. So tomorrow I will be also there on palliative care.
Your face is very dark. Unfortunately, we cannot, because all the light is coming from behind you. The bright window is behind you. Is there some way to sit on another sofa facing the window?
For me? You are asking me now?
Hanji, Hanji, Hanji.
Then I have to go. I can go outside also. What is the problem now?
Continue. But because these are being recorded, we want to provide people the best experience. You are koi nahi, we will continue.
Okay. So then I have to change my seat, but I will just finish in few minutes, then I'll put my video off and then change my seat somewhere. Okay. Now the point is that I was asking to Dr. Shradha about. First of all, your presentation was very, very good, and I'm thankful to Pawanji so bring so many scholars from different arena and different to bring at one platform. So I'm really helpful, really thankful to Pawanji, and also Madanji, your moderate. I mean, as far as the moderator point is concerned, in you, I've seen the best moderator which we can ever have for any kind of Ayurvedic webinars or seminars. So anyway, my first question to you is, Dr. Shradha, is about Bala Chatushtaya. So you know that we in Ayurveda used to practice Bala Chatushtaya, and somehow you also told about Sida cordifolia is the prominent herb, Bala. But what we heard about is, if you use Bala Chatushtaya, for example, Bala, Nag Bala, Ati Bala, Mahabala. So the 4 Balas. So, and the problem now in coming in Europe and UK is because I'm stationed here, so I have to address some issues which are problematic here in these countries, not in India. So the problem here is because now the UP government, not, I'm sorry for that, EU and UK government is stopping Bala to be imported from India because it has contained ephedra vulgaris and ephedrine. And because of the ephedrine being used as a drug compound, so they are saying that people might misuse it. So that's why they are banning Bala. And that's why, because you know that I'm a formulator for Ayurvedic medicines here in Europe. So I've been working on many formulations. I'm behind many formulations which are registered in Europe, in European Commission also, what I'm saying to you. And then we are facing challenges about this Bala. So how will you say about the ephedrine content in the Bala or ephedrine content in the other 3 Balas as Nagbala, Atibala, Mahabala? Can you throw some highlight on that?
So first and foremost, like, see, I'm from Dravigun. So
you're from
Dravigun, the subject.
Yes,
Dravigun,
yes. And definitely, if Pawanji will permit, we would like to have your numbers also. But somehow, Pawanji, we are failed to have all the people's number. But I don't know if you will solve it in future or not. I don't know.
It will come to you. It will come to you.
Okay. So Shradha ji, please. You're from Dravigun.
Actually, what I
Shradha ji, before you speak, I just want to make sure that you address this question at the highest level of intensity and understanding of Dravya Guna Vigyan. I just want to say Vaidya Naveen Gupta ji is a former student of Tibia College, Karol Bagh, Delhi. He studied Ayurveda in Tibia College. He was the gold medalist for Delhi University for his Ayurveda. And he has been practicing Ayurveda here across
That is
Europe.
not important, sir. That is not important.
No, it's very
important is the question. How she can address my question, which is how ephedrine content can be taken into account when we talk about the Bala Chatushtaya or particularly Bala.
The reason, I just want to stop here. The reason, Shradha ji, why I wanted to point this out is because we want to get the best out of your understanding here.
Because, Madan ji, you are so articulate, but I want to tell her that the knowledge which you will give me now, that will help me to fight for Ayurveda, perhaps in European Parliament. So I'm not making a joke. So please put your point to the highest level so that we can put it officially into our database to present to our lawyer who is fighting for us in European Parliament, in European Commission. Please.
So actually, from what we understand as Ayurveda and as practitioners, So whenever we use it in companies like Bala, when it's used in company, or we go for standardization of a particular compound, we go to only one particular compound. It is ephedra in case of Bala. But there can be a lot of chemical constituents which could be bringing in the therapeutic efficacy. Just because we know that there is one particular marker compound, I don't think that would be the only marker compound which is responsible for the therapeutic activity. So we need some other kind of standardization procedures apart from just TLC, HPTLC, because we have Rasaguna wave park, and scientifically we have not been able to explore it or show it through TLC or HPTLC.
Yes,
So
thank you, Shradha, for answering me so straightforward. Normally, I don't expect these answers from all Indian people who are sitting in India for Ayurveda. So your answer was very, very straightforward, but it does not solve, because I tell you that we need a very clear-cut points to fight against. Why not? Because it is, you are talking about a compound or practice point of view. This we can talk to Shradha for you. I'm 45th year in Ayurveda now. So that means that I can use all my experience of my practice in India and Europe to tell the European people, but they will not be satisfied by my 45 year of experience. They will be satisfied on paper, which I will say to them, use. Let us use in Balarishta, for example. We use in Bala Guluchadi Tela, for example. We use in Bala Ashwagandhadi Tela, for example. We use in so many things. And then if the people will, and how to convince the European Commission or the highest regulator of medicines or food safety in this country or in these countries, it's a really big challenge. So for that, that's why I asked Madanji to send your whole paper, so that I can go deep into the points and I can select something. And secondly, so this part is over from my side. And second question to you is
but I would like to understand from your point also, sir, like what would you be doing in this regard?
I'm asking you. Don't ask me, please.
So,
I'm asking you. I'm very straightforward.
For me also to learn.
But I'm asking you, you can ask me. Sorry for that.
Dr. Shradha, wonderful.
But the point is that, Dr. Agnihotri, point is that I'm asking you. So what I'm already doing, how can I say to you that in few minutes now? So I'm doing already a good job for this guy.
Dr. Naveen, please give me 30 seconds only. First of all, Professor Madan sir told about you that you was the gold medalist. In my knowledge and opinion, you are the gold medalist. When you are awarded once, it is always with your life. So you are gold medalist, number one. Number two, I was in mood to know that though Dr. Shradha did her PhD from BHU, I was interested to know that from which subject she completed post-graduation. So I got she is from Devgun. You see, may it be Velachatushte or may it be anything. 400 plus medicines are generally taught right from graduation, and a few selected for post-graduation studies. So abruptly or instantly, any PhD holder or 10 years teaching experience person may not answer spontaneously for any of the herb. I have got an occasion to see that in Premnagar Ashram there was a workshop, and one of my students, Aman Gupta or Amit Gupta, I am even knowing her name, he came forward and put one leaf abruptly in the hands of Dr. Professor Dr. Balindu Prakash, and sir, please tell me about this thing. And naturally, it is outright an examination to any of the learned person. I just saved him that it's not like that. You are my student. You are coming from the school. You may be crazy for any of the herb, but the point is that any teacher may not get simply identification out of one leaf. Either you have at least 4, 5 inch, 6 inch plant with all components. As far as the Bala's indications are concerned, as we were taught, Bala Chatushta, okay. Our point is for the biodiversity and its conservation. That is very important. What Bala is doing it will only do when it will be available. So the defending part from Dr. Shraddha is that abruptly it is very difficult, because the Devgun department, Devgun subject is a vast level. Kirtikar and Basu have got number of volumes to complete all this and fauna. So it is not that she is PhD, she is working, and she might be well versed with her work she has done in PhD. So it will be better if you can take some information from that subject from her. So this was my suggestion. Thank you.
Agnihotriji, thank you for pointing us to this thing. This is why I said early on, Shraddhaji, this is why I said early on, we will arrange a meeting where we will meet with Naveenji. Naveenji's question is a very important one, because Bala is used in so many, it's a very important formulation. There are ways in which you prepare this thing, and you are pointing to biodiversity. And Naveenji joined us a little late. He didn't see the earlier website that I presented about the European Union's biodiversity efforts, So there is a thread here that is connecting all of us, and we will, please join us. Please share your details on the chat box so that Naveenji and ourselves, we can connect and just discuss this point. The groups here don't understand the technicalities like Bala Chatushti. They don't understand. We cannot push them because they don't understand, but we can teach them a little bit, So I think what Naveenji is saying is, if we bring these kind of thoughts together, the technicalities and how this biodiversity has to be preserved, it's very important for us. And your comment about other markers are very important. I think Naveenji's is an open question, so he doesn't have an answer. So we will guide, I think if we sit together.
And let me also finish my point before Dr. Unnati stopped me for that. So I was also giving her big, namaste or whatever you can call it, because she touched this subject that there are some herbs which are divine. We use mantras for the divine herbs. So I would like to go more into those names, because for me to have Nirgundi connected to Lord Shiva, it was for the first time, I must say to you. Whenever I say it is my 45th year in Ayurveda, that means it is not even my 45th day, because this is what I learned only today, that Nirgundi could be for Lord Shiva as mantra to be used. So I would like to know more and more things from you and your soil conservation. So you told about some plants which are working radiation, and so beautiful. It was such a beautiful presentation, madam. I must say that it was really a good presentation. I will definitely like to contact you later sometime. And you are based in which place in India? I don't know. But anyway, I will.
D.Y. Patel College in Maharashtra is a very, very important institution, because it brings together in a very effective way all the modalities, modern medicine and Ayurveda. There are some very critical thinkers there.
I'm a very, very bad person. From Delhi, people are really very bad, Madanji. Delhi people think that like a mendak thinks, जो मेंढक के कुएं में होता है वो सोचता है कि इसके बाहर दुनिया नहीं है. तो हमें दिल्ली में ये बताया गया, दिल्ली में तुम रहते हो तो दिल्ली में सब कुछ है और दिल्ली के बाहर कुछ है नहीं.
I don't take it that way.
महाराष्ट्र के कॉलेज को जाना नहीं, पर इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि महाराष्ट्र, हमारे लिए महाराष्ट्र बहुत ऊंचा है, बहुत ऊंचा है.
I don't take it that way, because I have also been placed in different places. I was born in Karnataka, studied in 2 different institutes, and I'm still learning.
Dr. Gupta, very important thing is Dr. Shraddha has renewed so many things. She started from Udupi, as she belongs to Udupi, and Udupi is well known for Professor K.N. Udupa. He comes from Udupi, and he was the IMS director.
I have met him. I have met him for few hours in Delhi. I met him 2 times, few hours in Delhi, and he was living in.
I got selected in MD by his pen only.
Yes, I tell you, I met Dr. Kurupa in South Extension.
See, at the same time, Dr. Shraddha might be knowing Dr. Muralidhar Sharma, who had been earlier the principal of your UDP college. And Dr. Muralidhar Sharma is my batchmate in BHU
He is
in
my teacher.
1980 to 93. So he is very close to me. We were residing in front of our in 19 and his room was 7. We were all together in Nagarjun hostel. He is very cooperative. He is a wonderful person. He is
all the
junior.
stories.
He is junior Ulpa. So you had been the student of
all the stories, and I want to tell you that we know Udupi only by Udupi restaurant here in Delhi, where we eat dosa. That's it. So
no,
we don't know much about Udupi. Sorry.
That is nowhere. That is nowhere.
We know Udupi dosa restaurant. That's it. So.
Agnihotriji Katkia, thank you so much for, I want to draw this, Naveenji, you have touched a very important point. We will sit together with, Agnihotriji, aapka awaaz kat gaya ji. Oh. Agnihotriji, I'm just saying what Naveenji has brought out, this Bala Chatushta and those kind of details, there is a reason why it is being used, and we need to understand these things. So Naveenji, thank you for raising that point. And we deeply appreciate, Shradhaji, we deeply appreciate your presentation, extremely detailed and a lot of information packed into your slides. And please, thank you for sharing your number. Please let us come together again so that we can discuss some of these points. And it will become important to use that information in the ongoing discussions between India and the European Union for matters, related to health and biodiversity and plants and all these things. So please stay with us. I want to see if Kiran, I want to just, because we have two people here, Madhu Sharma joined us, but she has left us in between. Kiran ji, namaskar. You might have seen very briefly Madhu Sharma ji, who is from government degree college in Agnihotra.
Chinmay Degree College.
Chinmay Degree College in Haridwar. So I wanted Kiran is coming to us from the science stream. She has studied botany and so on. And she is a newcomer to the world of Ayurveda. So I would like Kiran, I would like you to meet, number one, with Agnihotriji, just to discuss some of these things. Number two, I would like you to meet with Shradha ji, either online or in person, whenever it is possible, just to see how you can understand from Kiranji's knowledge of, from Shradha ji's knowledge of this whole area of Dravya Guna. Kiranji might not even know the term Dravya Guna. This is the problem we have, that she comes from Devbhumi, she is working at the Forest Research Institute, but nobody in Forest Research Institute in Dehradun understands the word Dravya Guna. This is a possible. This, I feel there is a little bit of a problem here, that they won't understand what Naveenji has pointed us about Bala Chatushta, and so they cannot help us. But once they know about it, then their minds will open by saying, "Oh, by the way, we have GIS systems, we can do land mapping, we can do ecosystem mapping, we have got all these resources by which we can improve the land utilization, we can tell you where to go this effectively, etc." So that interaction, and to make that interaction happen, Kiran is a very important person for us at FRI. Also, Dr. Anita Tomar, who should have joined us, but she is not here with us today. I want to, before I pass the floor back to Pavanji, Ravi Gogia ji is here with us. Ravi ji, namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. There is one question from my side.
Thank you for joining us today again, Ravi ji. So before I get Ravi ji just to share his thoughts, today the presentation Shradha ji has given has touched 2 days of activities. It touches many of the things we discussed yesterday, and you have touched some aspects of the dangers to biodiversity and all those aspects that we heard from our colleague from Alberta. And you have pointed us to the fine details that Naveenji is commenting on, because if you hadn't made this presentation, we couldn't have inspired Naveenji to comment about this, And it is an open question. Your comment about Rasapanchak and, that subtlety is not understood by modern pharmacopoeia. They don't understand Rasaguna, Virya, Vipak, Prabhav, and how these interactions affect human physiology. That is not understood. So we need the help of Ayurveda people. We need that dialogue. And you have enabled that interaction today. So thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. Thanks to inspire Naveen ji to ask this question. We will come together again. I will share with you. Thank you for sharing your details. I'll share with you Naveen ji's contact number, and then let us come together, because the point Naveen ji is touching is very, very important. Ravi ji, the floor is yours. Namaskar ji.
Good evening to all people, and especially to Dr. Madan sir.
Namaskar ji.
Thanks for giving me opportunity to ask my question. My query is, Dr. Naveen Gupta ji has raised really a marvelous question. Bala Chatushtya. He's asking about 4 types of Bala description. I have one query about Rasna, that is Pluchia lanceolata. That is having many species, and this is very controversial drug. How to identify this drug? I have no answer, because whenever we read, I read this product, this herb in my PG first year. Someone asked me regarding this product. I had no answer, because I did not get specific answer in my book also. This has been described as a controversial drug. So please tell me, Dr. Shradha, please tell me how to identify this drug. I think so it has been become extinct or anything else, I don't know. So how to have pure form of Rasna, whether it is original form or whatever it is, so how can we recognize it? Please tell me.
The Rasna, what is like, actually, as Naveen sir was pointing out to the use of Bala and pharmaceutical industries. In the pharmaceutical industries, Alpinia is the source that is commonly used. To what I found from some of my friends working in the industry, it is Alpinia, which is a source. It looks like Ela Parni. In the classical text, they have mentioned that the morphology should look like Ela Parni, something looking like Ela. While in North India, like in Banaras and all, we would usually use the accepted species as Pluchia lanceolata, which is very different from the. It smells like it's more aromatic. It is aromatic, but it doesn't look anyway like Ela Parni. But that is what is accepted as in the northern parts. But practically, it is Alpinia which is used.
Raviji, could I comment? I just want to continue here with this, your question, Raviji. No, I come from the world of DNA analysis. If you can take a herbarium species, doesn't matter how old it is, even if it is 100 years old, 200 years old, we can extract the DNA and we can do a DNA analysis. So that is one thing. So somebody has, if there is a herbarium species of Rasna somewhere, we can do this. Number 2, once we have a DNA pattern, we have many, many techniques for analysis of DNA at the DNA level. It could be nuclear DNA, the DNA that's in the nucleus. It could be the DNA in the chloroplast of the plant, or it could be in the mitochondria. We have so many locations where we can analyze. And we can also look at the relationships between different Alpinia. So if you have, this is Alpinia galangal. If you have other Alpinia species, they're all coming from, I guess they're all within the Zanzibaraceae. So we can do circumscription of a given group, and we can do that kind of analysis. So this is something which is easy to do. There is analysis going on of similar kind at the Transdisciplinary University in Yelahanka, the place where the FRLHT database is coming out of. So from a DNA perspective, Raviji, it is very, very easy to do this analysis and identification. Once we have identified the DNA markers, then we can use it as a very routine test. There are quantitative measurements where we can analyze if adulterants are used. Even in a mixed sample, we can analyze if related species of Alpinia have come into the powdered raw drug that is there. And these are all techniques that I say. So Raviji, thank you for raising that question. We have solutions. It might not be straightforward in the sense there will be a little bit of optimization that's to be done. Much easier if you use fresh tissue. then we can extract the DNA very easily, and then it's easy to set up studies. But these are analysis that we can do. So answer to your question from the DNA perspective is that it is an easy problem to solve. And Shradha ji has pointed us to perhaps where this can be used. And the point, if I'm permitted to add one other point here, I wish more Ayurveda, BAMS students to engage in that space. We want more BAMS students who have an interest in medicinal plants to come and understand these techniques and technology. And maybe D.Y. Patel College is the best place to set up a research lab, a small research lab, where students can ask Ravijis the kind of questions, saying, here is a sample. And that can be part of a undergraduate project or an MD level project, Understanding Alpinia species. There is a lot of work that in Trivandrum, there is an institute called the Rajiv Gandhi Center for Biotechnology. Those, the PhD students there have done analysis of individual genes in the pathway, the gene that is responsible for making gingerol in ginger, one of the active ingredients, not all of it, but at least that pathway. They can identify the genes. We can take those genes, we can look at Alpinia species, we can look at all the related species within Zinziberaceae, the whole family, but we need to have a place where we can do the studies. And I feel, Shradha ji, that now that you are there in D.Y. Patel, and because D.Y. Patel also has other colleges and other lab resources within your campus, we might be able to start this. So I want to thank Ravi ji for raising this question. In terms of, there is a lot of work going on in Botanical at one of the research labs. Shradha ji, you already know where they are looking at some morphological approaches, microscopic approaches to look at contaminations, etc. But we can go beyond that easily. I'm going to take Haji.
I would like to ask other question from Dr. Shradha also. We are using paneer doda. That is Latin name. I'm just forgetting that name. That is starts from coagulase and coagulum. Exactly, I don't remember that name. Paneer doda that is being used for the sake of diabetes.
Diabetes,
Yeah. Is there any, whether it is being used at Delhi? Not. I am residing at Delhi, so that is being used rampantly at Delhi. So you are residing at Udupi or Bombay. I think so. You may have research paper on paneer doda. What are the other uses we can have beside having anti-diabetic qualities? And is there any other qualities or any research paper regarding this paneer doda?
Commonly here in Mumbai, Maharashtra also, it has become an OTC practice where Vithani coagulans is abundantly available and used for diabetes. Like people use, even people use it for diabetes. There are research works on that, on diabetes. I don't know of any other property, because this is what even I have observed.
Sir, is it there is some sort of belief that it should be used in winters only? No, it should not be used in summer. Is it right concept?
No, I don't think so. People use it because there are 2-3 plants. I'll tell you, for diabetes, what happens with people on their own. They use Vithania coagulans, which you said, which is paneer doda, and then another drug which is Pterocarpus asan, that is Pterocarpus marsupium. That is also commonly used. The water, it is put in water, and that water is consumed. So these are common plants which people use. There is, I have not come across any such assumptions. Throughout the year, people use here.
Okay, there is third question from my side, because my friend from Chhattisgarh, he is doing PhD on Palashar. He is using Palashar for the sake of insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus. Palashar. So he has done a lot of remarkable work on Palashar for the sake of insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus. Do you have any data? Perhaps you belong to Dravya Gun department, you may have right information regarding Palash. What dosage can be given to the patient having this insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus? Because I have used it for 3 patients. they reacted with some sort of, they experienced a lot of gastric upset or nausea, vomiting. But it is very great drug for insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. Please tell me, please throw more light on Palashar being used for insulin dependent, please.
I haven't used it personally on patients. Palashar I have not used, but if you look at the dose, it is Kshara Dravya. Right? Once you go for Kshara Dravya, the dose has to be very minimal, and that's the reason you mean. Because it's Kshariya Dravya, and I don't think it will be suitable in all category of patients, especially in Pittaj patients. I don't think it will be suitable. You will have to look into the prakriti of the patient. Viksharan can be used in Kafaja Pramehi people. I don't think it can be used in Vata and Pitta Prameha. Because see, I have when I have also done my post graduation with Sariva in Amra Pitta, acid peptic diseases, and again, mostly what we do is we do research on a single drug, and the prakriti we do is we definitely fill the forms, but we when it comes to the data analysis, the demographic data, it is just mentioned in the thesis, but it's never put mostly into the articles. I think you will have to consider these things. The prakriti, you cannot just use Kshar in any patient. And you have other drugs better than Palashar, Kshar, I feel.
And he is doing his thesis on this Palashar. He gave therapeutic dose of Palashar 4 rati to 8 rati. I gave 250 milligram. Started the Palashar on a diabetic patient. I started giving this 250 milligram. That was also creating trouble. That was on few patients were on Kafaj Prakriti and few patients were Vatak also. So if he is giving, we can titrate it up to the minimum dose for all types of Prakriti. If the patient is Vatik Prakriti, we can start it from 250. If the patient is Kafaj Prakriti, we can start it 1 gram. Palash should not be given. Any char that should not be given regularly. Char, Laman, Pipli, it should not be given to all people for regular basis. That is more than 6 weeks. We should not give. So what is the therapeutic dose of Palash? If given to all people, that would be suitable to all.
Dr. Ravi, sorry for interruption. Can you refer the case that Palashar is being indicated from any reference as far as its anti-diabetic use is concerned?
Sir, my friend is doing. My friend has done this PhD. He is just submitting.
He is doing his PhD work, so he might be having the references, the textual references.
He might have.
Out of that
but
ground,
I don't have.
Please. So out of that ground, he might be having the such type of details that indeed neat char is to be given in which quantity, in which dose, or in a combination of any other anti-diabetic oral agents, we can adjust the dose. As far as myself is concerned, Butea monosperma, I took this plant as a water disinfectant way back in 1982 when I was doing our work from BHU. So we have got the colony clearing capacity out of its water extract overnight, putting in the oxalate of that. So that was, since it became a Butea monosperma's work, I came forward that what I have done in a different field, it has got the colony clearing capacity as far as the E. coli is concerned when I was doing my work in BHU. Thank you.
Thank you, Agnes.
Okay, sir.
Ravi ji, please share आपके telephone number अगर chat box में डाल दें तो I think Shradha ji will be able to touch, and we will also want to. Ravi ji, where are you located in Delhi?
I am residing at Vikaspuri, working at Delhi Government Panchakarma Hospital, Delhi.
Achha, you are with us. Haan ji. So your questions are very important. I'm so happy you are joining our events and asking these questions, because it will remind people to just think a little more about. We are almost to the end of our session. It has been a wonderful day again, and particularly want to thank Shradha ji for bringing everything together. Kiran had to leave, so Kiran ji has left us, but she has also taken us in a nice way. She could take us into the northern part of the Himalayas, and going all the way from the north all the way to the eastern part of India, and using one plant and showing how a plant that is able to exist in extreme conditions can be used perhaps for local resources, improvement, skill development, employment generation, etc. So these are all interconnected in many ways, and these are ways in which we might have to engage with biodiversity. And in many parts of the world, like in Toronto or in Canada, it's too high up in the latitude, and the extremely harsh conditions where certain things may not grow, which makes them take a harsh position when it comes to policy making. When we have government-to-government discussions, they take a very difficult position because they are not endowed with such biodiversity like we have. And we take it too lightly, the value of our biodiversity, and we are not able to raise it up to a point where it can be used in policy discussions and government-to-government engagements. And I think that point came through, particularly in aspects related to China. And unless we bring all this to the table in a very clear way, like Naveenji's comment, Bala and aspects of Bala, and unless we can really say, we need fundamental research to understand the details of Rasa Panchak. Rasa, easy to understand. Guna, Virya, Vibhag, Prabhav is 2 light years away. We need to collaborate with countries to develop research projects. We need to understand how to uncouple these things. And we have the biodiversity. We have mapped the biodiversity, and we want to collaborate with people. And so maybe all this, we need to rehearse again. We need to think about this collectively. When we put our minds together, we will see what those points are that are valuable for research projects, which are valuable for policy making, which are valuable for government-to-government discussions. And as Surendraji mentioned early on, Jairam Rameshji is looking at the Biodiversity Act. There are discussions going on, but Jairam Rameshji has to be advised. He is not an expert. He wouldn't know what is Bala Chatushta. He wouldn't know that. He wouldn't know those fine details. But we need to find a way to engage with him, saying this is very important for us. And it needs to be there in your Biodiversity Act. These kind of details need to be there. And we need to engage with you more closely in these discussions. So I'm grateful that Surendraji joined us and highlighted this point. It came through in your presentation too. It came through in Naveenji's question. And Ravi Gogia has asked some very important things because he sees clinical practice, in the Panchakarma unit in Delhi. He's raising questions that is important for the citizen, for day-to-day practice. So with those few words, I want to thank Pavanji for once again, in a very clever way. It is a test for all of us because I want to put it openly here, Shradhaji. Just like Agnihotriji said, if somebody turns up with one leaf and say, can you tell me what species this is? Pavanji is doing this to us almost every day. Early morning, he sends us a message. Today, he has given us 1 day warning. For tomorrow, what is the event? So he has flashed that on the screen. But we are prepared to accept that challenge. And most times, I think, Agnihotriji, if you were an examiner for the way we conduct our events, I think you might give us at least 6 out of 10 for our performance. That
11 out of 10. It is always 11 out of 10. How can we underestimate ourselves? It will be a sin. It will be a crime. No, we are lighting the candle till midnight and to early morning. Why should we be miser for ourselves? We must be liberal. We are doing a lot, and persons like you are always with us. What more need? और नई हमारी पीढ़ी आती जैसे कि हमारी डॉक्टर नायक आई हुई है, तो ये तो महाराष्ट्र में रहते हुए और बीएचयू में रहते हुए हिंदी भी सीखी गई होंगी. तो मैं तो सबसे बढ़िया इनको पहले शाबाशी देना चाहूंगा कि इन्होंने बहुत शानदार बल्लेबाजी की, बहुत शानदार ये आउट नहीं हुई, बड़े बड़े स्कॉलर्स ने अपना चाहे स्पॉन्सर डाला हो, चाहे उन्होंने कुछ किया हो, एंड आई अप्रिशिएट यू. We used to be the examiner of PhD scholars. We know where they stand. It needs a lot of time for experience as a teachers, as a teaching faculty. Then only, even otherwise, one is not capable to answer each and every point. This is what I think. Okay.
Agnihotriji, congrats. Today, what we have seen is the excellence of D.Y. Patel.
Yeah.
What we have seen is the excellence of questions from a practitioner like Ravi Gogiaji in Delhi, Panchkarma unit. The excellence of Naveen ji, who has put us in the deep, pura bouncer kar diya. Usko bhi we handled that one also. Or we have handled everything. Googly, bouncer, leg spin, sab kuch. We have handled everything. And we have come out, I think, at least a draw in terms of our scores. I feel very, very happy that the 2 days that we've had yesterday and today, challenge from Pawanji, how to address this issue. And thanks to Surenderji for coming on and highlighting that Biodiversity Act issue. So all in all, I feel satisfied with your presentation. We will preserve it, Shradhaji, but we would like to come back to this discussion. So we will arrange that discussion. Either Pawanji will arrange or we will arrange it outside. But I feel if Pawanji arranges it, we can record that discussion based on what you have offered in your on your presentation, and then improve it for future discussion with people like Jairamji and others, so that there is a quality in policy making, quality in getting government-to-government discussions going, and negotiations can be done at that level. Anil Johri ji joins us frequently from the Quality Control India. He's involved in these discussions, the trade discussions and policy discussions. And those are very important to give these kind of specific details. Agnihotriji ji, I think Pawanji might be
Is he here
with us, but I want to pass the floor with Pawanji's permission. I've passed the floor to you to draw today's event to a close.
He's here. He's here.
He's there. Pawanji, namaskar. Don't worry, you can continue, Pawanji.
So before closing, I would thank all of you for giving me this platform, and knowing people like you is a great pleasure.
Well, it's
and
a delight.
It stimulates my mind also, because I'll definitely get back into that ephedra bala. So I will.
Your comment is
I have to do that.
Beyond HPLC. It is beyond mass spec. Something else we need to, and that discussion must come within the Ayurveda community. That discussion must come into the main agenda for CCRAS. It must come in the agenda for ICMR. It must come in the agenda of DBT, and it must be elevated to a 3 or 4 ministry level discussion. And we look forward to people like you, Shradha, to think about this, generate the ammunition that is required to escalate this to a level where we can not only engage with policymakers, but also pull our young students to join us to think about these things. I think our students are looking for challenges, our young students. And Kiran, who joined us today, is an example of a PhD student, and she will accept the challenge, and she will solve the problem, and she will come up with new ways of thinking. And what I admired greatly, she joined us from her village in Uttarakhand, in remote part of Uttarakhand. And that is so fantastic. Agnihotriji, the floor all yours. Namaskar ji.
Namaskar. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Madanji. It's again a challenge and an examination for the speakers, how they were prepared to justify today's celebration of the International Biological Diversity Day, which Dr. Pawan ji made a little bit more specific for our webinar, that is unique biological diversity. We have to focus on these points. So persons justified, this I will take afterwards. First, I would like to pay my regards to all our senior dignitaries of our webinars platform, right, starting from Dr. Madan Changvalu ji, Dr. Naveen Gupta ji, Ved Rajan Patankar ji, Ved Dr. Jagdishwar Toma ji, our Jayesh Thakkar ji, Dr. Shradha Nayak ji, Dr. Ravi Gogia ji, Dr. Parikshit Devnath ji, and Dr. Surinder Chaudhary ji, Dr. Saikat Kr Basu ji, and Dr. Preeti Banerjee ji, Dr. Madhu Sharma ji. So these are all almost there, and our highest attendance was 40, almost 14, 15. So as Professor Madanji introduced the subject and shown a very picturesque scenes of our botanical gardens of India or botanical flora of India, I would like to add on one more thing, that our Lakshadweep island is also very rich, and one of my senior from BHU, Dr. S.S. Mishra, Mishra was also there. He was posted as a medical officer, then senior medical officer, and he was, as a protocol, second to Lieutenant Governor of that island. So whenever he come India, he has given me a lot of calendars of that panoramic scenes of that whole flora of that coastal area and that island. Anyway, so definitely India is very rich as far as the flora and fauna is concerned, and that too distributed in whole of the our geographical distribution. Well, first speaker was our Dr. Shaukat ji, and he, as usual, very penetrating personality. He carries on the topic to the deepest of it, and as he touched yesterday the concept of smuggling, this is sandalwood forest, Veerappan, all areas was touched by him, and again he taught that our species should be conserved with the help of the cultivation. And today also he talked so many things. What I feel that it is not a biodiversity, and if we talk about the biodiversity is concerned, it is applicable over the animals, plants, and I think whatever the living being species are concerned. As we are talking about that persons are smuggling for the lion skin or tiger skin or even the elephant skin, crocodile parts and all that. But the fact is this, if we go back, we have got shlokas, we have got गीत where we get बागंबर जो शंकर जी का वस्त्र हुआ करता था. तो शंकर जी के तो परिवार में अगर आपके पास मोटरसाइकिल है, स्कूटर है, अम्पाला है, ओडी है, तो बच्चे आएंगे कोई सी भी चला ले जाएंगे, घर की चीज है. तो चूंकि मयूर भी उनके यहाँ है, बैल भी, वृषभ भी उनके यहाँ है, शेर भी उनके यहाँ है, उनके पारिवारिक सदस्य हैं, तो उनके जब भी कभी टर्नओवर होते होंगे तो उनको मिल जाता होगा. वो लॉयन की स्किन अगर वो अपने शरीर में वस्त्र के रूप में धारण किए गए, बागंबरी माना गया, वो जमाना था, वो किसी का आंख देखा हुआ नहीं था. लेकिन आज these things are very rare, and it is also a crime to take out skin from such a means our national animals and all that. So in that way, diversity is to be maintained with the help of the again which are now endangered. So in that way, we are supposed to keep our mind very open with the help of the presentations of our speakers. They made today a great day simply because of their knowledge. And what I feel that talking in all these points is really important because it leads to awareness. At the same time, execution of this thought is equally important. As I told yesterday also, where we have to work, how we have to work, what machinery, what team is supposed to come forward and protect all these things and cultivate more and more. So this is the idea. Things which are there, as you talked about, Madam Shanda has talked about the Astvarg and Jivni Aushadhiyan. Do you think that it will remain in the text itself, in the books itself? Our area, which is the Himalayan range or the Shivalik range, even we will include Nepal also. Acharya Balkishan ji of Patanjali, he used to work a lot in the Himalayan and Kedarnath area and Nepal area also, just to collect. And he claims he has given a books also, this Astvarg, how much it is there. Though we are using this alternative or representatives for these Astvarg candidates. Moreover, both the two persons' presentations were wonderful. It is enlightening one. But Professor Madan sir, one question he was just making a doubt that I don't know whether FRI is authorities having the knowledge of Devguna or not, or what is the status. So to his information, I would like to say that they have got very good books of Devgun Vigyan in their library, written by Acharya Priyavesh Sharma ji or our Bhavprakash Nigantu and other Dhanvantari Nigantu and so on. Because Ms. Kiran can tell better, but what I'm saying, since it is also a government institute, and from all over India, our Devgun department tour used to come to even J&K, Haridwar, Gurukul, and FRI also. So FRI is a very center place. So they have got all knowledge because Devgun teachers used to visit along with our students. So in this way, they are up to the mark. And I again remembering one more thing, that there was a workshop on non-traditional, non-skilled persons' knowledge, right from serpents knowledge and the local persons, local farmers, local vendors. 3 days workshop was there. So FRA is very rich because flora and fauna knowledge is one thing, and their medicine value will be only be available when they will meet with the Devgun department. So in that way, FRI is very rich, and with due permission, most of the teachers, most of the colleges I have visited FRI. So word-wise, Devgun, I don't know whether to which extent they follow, but they follow that medicinal value of plants is under the subject of Devgun. It is being taught in that way. So, well, it is all these things, and very, very new words were today used, like mega biological diversity and DNA based and HVCL. So many things are there. Academically, as the PhD workers are, scholars are coming, professors are there, they will make much more things. But we have to come and see the things happening on ground basis. If the ground will be enriched with all these, say, vanishing biodiversities, we will be at loss. So our academia is supposed to make possible with the help of our tools. Our tools are our MD, PhD, BMS scholars and doctors. They should come forward, as I told yesterday. Then only this will be maintained, and our India, as it is rich with its heritage, as far as any field is concerned, may it be Takshila, Nalandas, may it be our Sanatan and rituals, may our Ganga and Jamna, everything is here. So goes the case with such a botanical and herbal plants life is concerned. So in this way, we congratulate all the persons who presented and participated in the very high level discussion, like Naveen Gupta ji, Dr. Doma ji, so Ravi Goenka ji. These persons are really crazy to know as much as possible, and whosoever is coming as our guest, because we all consider that you are an elixir and complete the tether of knowledge. We are always eager. We, Professor Madan sir, are always eager to take out much more. Even see, Miss Kiran is just doing PhD, but we are crazy that how much she can share during her study itself, and as much she will be interrogated for the knowledge. She will become more and more hunger to collect much more knowledge during her study period, and then she will be a spokesman, whatever she will be getting nowadays. So thank you all. Thank you very much for your kind cooperation, and we will be having you again and again. Thank you. Over to Manasarji. Thank you.
Thank you, Agni. Before we break off for the night, fortunately, we are almost on time today, Agni. Sawa no. So almost around our 9 o'clock deadline. Number two, Shradha ji, I put something in the chat box here, BAMS colleges in India. I hope this number is correct. There are 273 BAMS colleges in India, out of which 223 BAMS colleges are private and 53 are government owned. I need to confirm this, but this is an approximate.
Your information is 100% confirmed.
100% correct.
273 and then 53. Okay, yes. And I really, Shraddha, clearly, I would like to say that you come from the Guru Ram Guru, Professor K. Rupa sir from Udupi Kshetra, and also of Dr. Muralidhar Sharma. And we are fortunate enough to have those persons with us. We have been a student of Professor K. Rupa sir. Thank you.
The point,
and also you are alumnus of BHU. That makes me more satisfied to see you and a person from BHU. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shraddha ji, my question before we go offline also to Ravi ji, कि इतनी कॉलेज है हमारे देश में, ठीक है ना जी? अब मान लो हमने लिया एक कॉलेज से एक at least one MD student या 2 final year student, then we have a good number. You know, we can easily get at any one time we can get 1,000 students, a network across India, 1,000 students, ek saath. And using this network, this kind of system here, we can bring them together. And we need to make that happen somehow. Kyunki, the reason is very simple, because we have such a deep, rich system here. And I feel the reason why we haven't promoted to the global stage is because we are not able to express this richness correctly. And that will require it will require an army of students to come, to discuss, to learn the emphasis. Naveenji knows everything about Europe, but it has taken him many decades to get that understanding. And just like we say, Udupaji was very instrumental for setting up IMS. And nobody talks about IMS in any discussions here, because that critical mass has not arrived where somebody can stand up and say, by the way, in IMS, first-year students from modern medicine and Ayurveda sit together in the same lecture room and are instructed. And now, what is your difficulty in accepting Ayurveda when the students are taught in a similar way? That doesn't come up in our discussion. So we need our foreign service officials to understand this argument that we can make, and they should come back to us saying, this argument is good, but there are limitations here. Let them also, jaise aapne pucha, what the question you asked, Naveen ji, आपकी तरफ से क्या है जी इसकी इलाज? So उस टाइप का डिस्कशन होनी चाहिए. हमारी Ministry of External Affairs में, we must ask this question. Do you know that Tibia College Ayurveda student sits with Unani student in the first year? In IMS Banaras, in BHU, first year student of modern medicine is sitting together with BMS student, and they're learning the same thing. Now, when it comes to policy making and asking, why can't Ayurveda students practice outside when they're sitting together and learning together? Where is the difficulty? So to make those kind of questions, we must get more students involved and they will feel a little more engaged in this kind of issue.
Sir, I've got 2 points immediately. One is that as far as Dr. Surendra Chaudhary was telling, that Mr. Jairam Ramesh has been looking after that modification in that act. So the idea is this, that Mr. Jairam Ramesh is a parliament from, I think, Rajya Sabha and upper house, and he is just being parliamentarian, is a Sanskrit board as a member. He is a member of that meeting. He is not knowing that ground of the subject matter of Ayush or the plant itself. So he is taking all the advice from our Koteja ji and our Ayush Mandala itself. Otherwise, as you told that he is not knowing, definitely he is not knowing that one. Any parliamentarian or a group of parliamentarians are always constituted a committee by the government of India. So to perform this thing, because ultimately it will be put in a floor of House of Parliament by the governing body constituted by the speaker and all that. And second thing is where the problem is, as you are quoting, that in IMS, MD first year and MBBS first year students are taught together in the same lecture. It's very true. And we, in 4 subjects, anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, pathology, these 4 subjects are taught to MD Ayurveda first year student along with the MBBS students, wherever that pathology and pharmacology is concerned. Means even it may be first year, second year, or third year. But the simultaneously fact is this, that MBBS students are not taught Ayurveda in IMS in the same institute. This is the point. If they are also taught the basic principles of Ayurveda, the Devaguna, the Ras Shastra, and the medicinal chemistry, then the scenario could have been changed. Now they are peeping into our department for a consolidated Ayurvedic course, say 6 months, or rotatory internship in Ayurvedic this thing, or going for the, now they are becoming crazy to going for the Charaka oath and all that. But initially, those who were interested, those who are not getting modern medicine MD, MS admission, our MD Ayurveda faculty was open. So many MBS, like Dr. Jalon, and so many students are there who are MBBS and MD Ayurveda, MS Ayurveda, because that sector is open. So it becomes difficult for them to clear first year, because they are not knowing ABCD right from 5 years MBBS course. They got selected to the written examination. So this is a very important point. MBBS first year may also be given knowledge, especially in IMS or such places where the Ayurvedic faculty is also there along with the modern medicine faculty. This is what, as you were telling, that in Unani college, these things were there. Unani and Ayurveda was taught with the same means theatre. So there is still lacuna. If we want to get more and more output, MBBS student may also be given this chance to given some basic knowledge of Ayurveda. Thank you.
Agnihotriji, a question if I may ask. Is this discussion happening, ji? ये जो आपने जो बताया, इससे कुछ चल रहा है कि नहीं?
No, it is almost plus minus going on. Patanjali side means Ramadev and all that, they are interested to get admitted students having Prathama Madhya, Madhyama or Uttar Madhyama +2 with Sanskrit. Mr. Premchand Shastri was also telling this thing when he was there in our discussion. So many disparities are running side by side. +2 with bio group is essential qualification to appear in NEET to get admission in BMS or MBBS. And then MD Ayurveda, they didn't test it again there. But now they are making, our Modi government is making for last 5-6 years to make out some consolidated syllabus to introduce in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Delhi itself. It may start, because that is a center place, and central government, if they will, and then it will be, if it will be accepted by MCI, means referred by NCIMS to MCI. If MCI will give the green signal, I think then it will be included to the modern medicine medical colleges. This is a little bit under process. It is in pipeline. If it happens, then something will happen. And some Ayurvedic fraternities are also objecting it, because they are telling, if this will be happen, only 6 months or 1 year consolidated course be taught to MBBS doctors, and BMS will be nowhere in the scenario. They will hijack our whole of the theme and use and misuse whatsoever they were having the knowledge by 1 year course. So it is not so smooth to switch over or to give this chance to them. Though things are going on. Yeah.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you. Sunita, Shradha ji, you can see the kind of discussions that happen after our presentation. They are as valuable as the presentation, inspired by the presentations, but also improvisations as we go along. And this is very, very important for us. And we are very fortunate that senior people like Domaji is here today, and he has given us this very important aspect of neo-humanism. and the neo-humanism aspect and the educational network that is there, the Gurukul systems that are there, and also how it connects with the deeper Advaita Vedanta, Adi Shankara, and all these kind of things, So these are very important parts of our worldview. And we can accommodate all this because we have this rich worldview. And within that worldview, we come up with amazing solutions, sacred groves for maintaining biodiversity. And it is in action. And how we understand fine principles. When we integrate that with modern thinking, Gogia ji ki sawal ki uttar jo humne diya ki DNA fingerprinting can be done, Then we can understand. But we want young children, young students, first year, second year, third year students, MD students to become aware of this and be fluent in it. ये क्या है, क्लोरोप्लास्ट क्या चीज है, उसके अंदर DNA क्या है, स्ट्रक्चर उसकी, माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया के अंदर क्या है. When you have species, what is the difference? Will you look at nuclear DNA or chloroplast DNA to identify, to separate the species? And these are simple questions, but all Ayurveda students must understand this. We must look at our Dravya Guna curriculum and put one lecture there. Ki ye hai, this is how we can, modern technology use karke, how will you do this, resolve any confusion, species identification. Easy to do. In 45 minutes, we can explain all this. In one lecture, we can do this. And so that Ayurveda is getting ready for the 22nd century. It is going to be the predominant form of health and care for the future. When I go into Rachna Sharir or Kriya Sharir, it is even more exciting. Future physiology. And then we have Marma Sharir, which is even more amazing, So amazing. Ki yahan dawao pura, your whole, or we go into the area of prana. What is this prana? You already know about the pranavayu, uddanavayu, and all these things, you know this, and you are using it in practice. And you are getting therapeutic response. Samanavayu, you know how to, where will you use castor oil? How will you, when we go into that space, physiologists from Europe will say, how do you do this? Basti karo or vagal tone improves. These are amazing places for the future of physiology, future of understanding. We have to go beyond the existing model of pharmacological aspects of dravyas, हमारी शर्मा जी कहते थे कि द्रव्य शक्ति is beyond this pharmacology. There is a concept called dravya shakti. And your comment today about people doing a little prayer before harvesting goes into that space of dravya shakti. Modern biology doesn't have an answer for this, but you have an answer. And you can guide modern biology, future biology, using these principles. Nasya, I'm just looking at some paper from Italy, Nasya and inflammation of the pituitary hypothalamus. So when you are using you have so many things you use for Nasya. And you can say, for this condition, we use this type. For this condition, we use this dravya, which is so amazing. It is so amazing. Each one is touching different parts of the anatomy and the physiology and the neuroanatomy. We want to bring all this, and I'm looking to D.Y. Patel for this kind of input, also looking to BHU and IMS. Something needs to happen at that level. You are both students of BHU, and that our collective responsibility is to put this information back into BHU, saying, prepare things for the 22nd century. You have 70 years to prepare, 75 years to prepare, We don't need it tomorrow or next week or next decade, but you have 75 years to make a 75-year plan ahead for the future. BHU is not going to go away anywhere. It will be there. It will be one of the leading universities in India and the world. And let us look at that. Let's look in a relaxed way for a futuristic thinking. And so happy to be here with old
Sir,
students.
nowadays Professor K.N. Dwivedi, Kamalyan Dwivedi is Dean
Dean.
of BHU, and he is a professor of Devguna.
So
So
there it is.
he can
also my guru.
in some ways.
he can promote. He's 3 years junior to me.
Okay,
Actually,
sir.
so you see, so we can.
So
and this-
he always greet me whenever I go. This time also. So
This
he can lead.
we have to strengthen this parampara, you know, because only old students can do this. Old students have a. यहाँ पे अग्निहोत्री जी हमारी कॉलेज में 31 कॉलेज है जी कैम्ब्रिज में, छोटी कॉलेज. Or if you are once a student of this college, they give you one right. It is, you can come to college and have 4 dinners every year, whenever. Choti si.
Please make us a student of any one of your college. Then only this desire will be fulfilled. Not only it's a matter of dinner, it's a matter of say get together.
This is the, so BHU must have a parampara here. Once you are a student of BHU, you can come anytime to BHU with this voucher, go to any canteen at BHU and get samosa chai for free. ठीक है? क्यों नहीं हो सकता? That gives that, you know, a connection is maintained now with your old students. क्या लगेगा इसमें? I don't think it will cost. कुछ नहीं लगेगा. एक चाय, एक समोसा, कभी भी आ जाओ, ये लो आपके टोकन. कहीं भी दे दो, you will get one. Something like the small way we can, you know, put that commitment. छोटी चीज. Namaskar ji. Agnihotri ji, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ravi ji, बहुत धन्यवाद जी. Thank you for your
I would
question.
like to ask one
Please.
query.
Still.
I'm very thirsty for knowledge because you are a learned person and you are very senior. I want to have a lot of learning. I want to learn a lot of things because you are really expert in your field. So as
Ravi,
per doctor,
आपने BAMS कहाँ किया जी? BAMS MD किया?
मैंने सर?
हाँ जी.
सर मैंने अभी मेरा वेबिनार हुआ था तो मैंने बताया था, आप भूल गए?
भूल गए. Apologies.
सर नहीं, मैं बताता हूँ सर आपको. सर मैं आपको छोटा एक्सपीरियंस भी बताता हूँ आपका अपना, और इसके बाद मैं बताऊंगा तो आपको हमेशा याद रहेगा. एक्सपीरियंस ये बता रहा हूँ क्योंकि मैं आई एम द लाइव एग्जांपल ऑफ यूजिंग नस्से ऑफ अणु तेल फॉर द लास्ट फ्यू इयर्स. माय एज इज 49 रनिंग. I have not forgotten any name, any knowledge, whatever you have acquired from your college because of Nasse qualities. Memory power is very high. As per Nasse qualities, I am experiencing these sort of good qualities of Nasse. Second thing, I am live example of my previous refractive error was minus 1.5. Now, as for the last 6 months, I am using Padabhyang. I am washing my eyes with Trifla Quath, Trifla Him morning time. I am washing it. I have experienced a lot of change. That is my refractive error that was the minus 1.5 that has reduced to minus 1. So I am live example. I can show it by my evidence-based study. I have recorded my visual scale by which we can show that my visual impairment has been finished now. So this is the point of regression. We are going to the phase of progressive disorder. Progressive means we are going through the degenerate disorder, but we can revert back through Ayurveda, through following Panchakarma treatment, through Nasse, through washing our eyes with Trifla Quath or Padabhyang. So these are the things. Second thing, we can apply our saliva to our eyes also. So this helped me a lot to regain my reflective correction also. So these are the two things which I am following. We should do it again. We should always do Nasse along with Trifla Quath, Trifla Him wash of our eyes. Two things. Second thing, you are asking about my college days when where I have studied. I did my BMS from Rohtak, God Brahman Ayurvedic College. Second, I did my PG from Odisha, Gopabandhu Ayurved Mahavidyalaya, that is Government Ayurvedic College. For the last 17 years, I am working in MCD, Panchkarma Hospital, Rajori Garden, New Delhi. So I would like to share, because you people are propagating Ayurveda through many angles towards all types of people who are very thirsty to learn Ayurveda. So I am very thirsty to learn knowledge from all of you. So I want all of you to be healthy through all parameters by following parameters of Panchkarma, Nasya, and whatever feasible you can do it. So these are the two requests from my side to please follow these Padabhyang for visual disorder. Second, Trifla Quath, Trifla Him wash of your eyes. And third one is the Nasya. Because at the age of 50 to 60, there can be visual disorder also. So I am planning to save it from just now, because I will within 1 year I will become 50 years. So I want to save myself and want to save other people who are crossing this age. So I want all of you to be healthy through all parameters. This is my little bit extra wording which I have given you in the form of answer of your single word. Ki where do you pass? This is, I'm extremely sorry, but I have to give you this knowledge.
Dr. Ravi, it is our pleasure that you informed me very good things and your personal experiences at adopting the two very important things like Nasya and Padabhyang. The very fact is this, that as far as the Panchkarma is concerned, that is Vaman, Virechan, Asthapan, Anvasan, Basti, and Shiro Virechan. So what you took as Nasya and Shiro Padabhyang, these two fall under the category of our Dincharya under Swasthravrat, and Shirobhyang, Karnabhyang, Sarvang Abhyang, and Padabhyang. These are all very important actions, and especially Padabhyang leads to the improvement of the vision. Definitely, no doubt. So goes the case with the Nasya. Nasya is the gateway of our brain. So when you approach through this route, your memory will definitely be high. Along with आज्ञा चक्र पर कंसंट्रेशन करेंगे कुंभक में, तो भी हमारी स्मृति शक्ति बढ़ती है. धीरे धीरे स्मृति तीनों को स्टेप बाय स्टेप बढ़ा सकते हैं. बहुत अच्छा लगा कि आप क्रेजी हैं, आप जानना चाहते हैं. हम इतना तो नहीं जानते आपको बढ़ा सके. ये तो आपका मान है जो कह रहे हैं कि हम लोग जानते हैं आपसे, आप हम लोगों से सीखना चाहते हैं, लेकिन आयुर्वेद से सीखना चाहते हैं. हम लोगों से नहीं, आयुर्वेद को सीखिए. आयुर्वेद है तो हम भी हैं, आप भी हैं. अच्छा लगा कि आपने अपने ऊपर लिया. और रही बात ये जो सलाइवा लगाने की बात है, देखिए इसमें भी वही है. सलाइवा में टाइलिन है, एल्कलाइन नेचर का है. हमारे आलोचक पित्त यहाँ पे होता है, तो उससे हमें जलन होती है, दाह होती है. तो रामदेव जी बताते हैं मुंह में पानी भर के आप ठंडे पानी छींटे लगाइए, ये त्रिफला हिम लगाइए. देखिए आपने 2 बार क्वाथ कहा, लेकिन हम कनेक्ट किया. हिम इज इंपॉर्टेंट. त्रिफला हिम से ही बढ़िया काम होता है, और वही काम होता है सलाइवा से. अप्रोचेस को साइंटिफिकली हम डिफाइन करें तो यह है कि हमें पैथिक विकार को दूर करने के लिए, हमें एसिडिटी को कम करने के लिए ये वाला क्षेत्र लेना पड़ता है. इट इज द टाइलिन व्हिच इज present in your saliva, released by the salivary glands, and it helps you in your intactness of your eyes and eyesight. Thank you, Ravi.
ओके सर, एक छोटी सी बात मैं कहना चाहता हूँ. मेरे बॉस ने मुझे कहा, रवि आपने एमडी कर लिया, आप अपने दिल्ली में जा रहे हैं, आपने छोटा डॉक्टर नहीं बनना, बड़ा डॉक्टर बनना है. मैं कहा सर मैं तो अपना जाके कुछ प्रैक्टिस करूंगा. जो मेरा थीसिस टॉपिक था ऑस्टियोआर्थराइटिस का, मैं जाके
अब तो आयुर्वेद के वैद्य बनिए, डॉक्टर भूल जाइए. आयुर्वेद के बड़े वैद्य बनना है, डॉक्टर नहीं बनना है.
उन्होंने बोला कि आपने बड़ा वैद्य बनना है, छोटा वैद्य नहीं बनना. मैं कहा कैसे, छोटे कौन से होते हैं, बड़े कौन से होते हैं? कहते रवि आप 2 कंसेप्ट होते हैं, आप स्वास्थ्य को रक्षण करो और जो रोगी की ट्रीटमेंट करो. तो आप रोगी का ट्रीटमेंट सब डॉक्टर्स करते हैं, आपने ऐसा ट्रीटमेंट करना है कि व्यक्ति के स्वास्थ्य को रक्षण करना है. आप उनको बोलो दिनचर्या, ऋतुचर्या, आप डेली रूटीन में जो आपको फॉलो कर सकते हो. पेशेंट को बोलो मैं आपका गारंटी लेता हूँ आपको कभी कैंसर नहीं होगा अगर दिनचर्या ऋतुचर्या को फॉलो करोगे. लोगों को स्वस्थ बनाने के लिए एक पैरामीटर दो, उनको समझाओ, ट्रीटमेंट करो.
आपको उन्होंने ये नहीं कहा जो छोटे से बड़े होते हैं वो बड़े होते हैं, जो बड़े से छोटे होते हैं वो छोटे वैद्य होते हैं.
मतलब उन्होंने उनका मोटिव था कि आपने हेल्दी लाइफ को अडॉप्ट करना है, लोगों को हेल्थ के लिए प्रमोट करना है, रादर देन ट्रीटमेंट से पहले आप लोगों को हेल्दी बनने का ट्रीटमेंट बताओ. हाँ जी, वो बताया. तो मैं कोशिश करता हूँ लोगों को जब लेक्चर देने जाता हूँ तो उनको बोलता हूँ हेल्दी रहने के मैं आपको ट्रीटमेंट बता सकता हूँ. ट्रीटमेंट तो आपको हर डॉक्टर बता देगा, मैं चाहता हूँ आप बीमारी ना पड़े. तो ये कंसेप्ट उनको अच्छा लगता है कि हर व्यक्ति 50 के बाद चाहता है हेल्दी रहूं. उससे पहले तो लोग पैसा कमाने के चक्कर में रहते हैं, 50 के बाद सोचते हैं मुझे हेल्दी.
हमारा तो फील्ड यही है, हमारा फील्ड यही है, स्वस्थ है. दिनचर्या, संध्याचर्या, रात्रिचर्या, तेरे उपस्तंभ, आहार निद्रा ब्रह्मचर्य, सद्वत पालन, वेग विधारण और अपना पूर्ण रूप से डेडिकेशन टुवर्ड्स ईश्वर प्रणयन. फिर देखिए हमेशा स्वस्थ रहेंगे. थैंक यू.
सर बहुत अच्छा लगा, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
आपका म्यूट हो गया, स्पीकर ऑफ है।
हाँ सर, आप ऑन कर दिए। मैं बस यही कह रहा था सर।
नहीं मदन जी,
रवि जी, आपके जो थैंक यू फॉर, एक तो थैंक यू फॉर शेयरिंग टेलीफोन नंबर। शायद आपके एक कोलीग होंगे सत्यनारायण, सत्या करके, आई डोंट नो इफ ही इज देयर।
सत्यनारायण दुर्नाला। हाँ सर, मेरे
exactly.
वो एमसीडी में ही है। दूसरी हमारे एमसीडी दैट इज डिवाइडेड इनटू 3 पार्ट्स। टुडे ही टेल मी यूनाइटेड अगेन इन 2010 that was divided into 3 parts. Today is the date to 22nd of this May that has been reunified now. Previously he was in East MCD. I am working in South MCD. So he is also in East MCD.
Dronalaji was a Vaidya scientist. Hamari Bangalore mein we had a program, Vaidya scientist program. We took 15 MD PhDs Ayurveda ki, and we put them through a Vaidya scientist program where we were discussing this interfacing. So Satyaji was one of our students. Ravi ji, ye jo aapne jo baat bataya ki I put this in 4 aspects of Ayurveda. Ek to hai health promotion, which is you are healthy, what do you have to do every day to promote your health, to increase it? And Agnihotri ji's Swasthavrit area is that one. Dusra cheez, health maintenance. Every day you are 1 day older. What will you do to maintain your good health? Teesri cheez, disease prevention. What do you have to do to prevent disease? Which is also aspect of Swasthavrit. Aur iske piche hai pura science, biology. There's a very sophisticated biology. Your dinacharya, ritucharya, ritusandhis, what you have to do at the ritusandhi, etc. is a very deep science. Or biology ki taraf se dekho, we can see what is happening at this ritusandhi kala. Why you are approaching this. The biology, you understand it. Modern medicine does not understand it. Modern biology has to learn from you people. Last is the unfortunate thing. You fall ill. If you don't follow all these recommendations, then you have to do the cure. Wo bhi aapke paas hai. You have so many types of cures. This discussion must become a global discussion. This is very important, Raviji. And to make it a global discussion, for people who do not understand the logic of Ayurveda, you have to show a measurement. Ki yesterday, your measurement was this much. Today, your measurement is so much. Last week, your measurement was so much. This week, your measurement is so much. You took Trikatu 1 week ago. Look at the measurement then. Or aaj, ek hafte ke baad, ye dekho measurement. We have to learn how to do this measurement. And this measurement can be done, but we need new devices. Our colleague from Pune, Joshi ji, Anirudh Joshi ji, has one device. Nadi Tarangani and Turiya is one device he has. Usme we can do something there. There are other devices. Magar modern physiology walon ke paas bahut kuch hai. They have many approaches for assessing vagal activity, vagal tone. And I'm hoping that Shradha ji and Diva Patel and places like this, where there is a little more close interaction between the departments, modern medicine, Ayurveda, we can start thinking about these things soon. So Ravi ji, this is our challenge. Yahan बीच में हमारे साथ आते विंचेंसो जी इटली से. अब विंचेंसो जी के पास कुछ है मशीन, रशिया वालों की मशीन, जिससे हमारी चाइनीज मेडिसिन की मेजरमेंट कर सकते हो कि चैनल मेरिडियन एनर्जी करके. अब it is something to do with the resistance of the skin or resistance of the tissue. And when we do Ampachan and Agni Deepan, something is happening in the system. Till now, Ayurveda talks in terms of lakshanas, but we must put it in the terms of modern physiology. And I think out of these kind of discussions, we will arrive at that outcome. We will come to that somewhere in the next, I hope sooner than later, we will arrive at those kind of new approaches, integrative approaches, Ayurvedic treatment, measurement with some modern physiology tools. Nerve conductance, nerve conduction velocity can be measured. So many things can be done. So Ravi ji, we need your help in all these areas because you see so many patients every day, and we like what you are just saying. Ki I've done Padabhyanga, I've done Nasya using Anutel, and I'm doing the triple eye wash. And there it is. The example that Modi ji gave in Jamnagar, April, May, Kenyan Prime Minister ki beti, Rosemary, optic nerve atrophy. Almost 5 years, she did not have sight. But she came to Sridharyam in Nambudri ji, Vaidya ji ke paas, and eyesight is back. There are so many examples like this. So we need to discuss these kind of points. At least as a small group, we can touch on these points. You know, intervertebral disc prolapse, Raviji, intervertebral disc prolapse, Katigra kind of is complicated, Katigra. So many reversals are happening, you know, with Basti and some Lasuna-based formulations. And this is a big problem, backache. And you have so many treatments. And you are masters of Basti. You know how to do this. And people are benefiting. So why can't this be a procedure for the whole world? So anyway, there are many examples like this. Male infertility, female infertility, avascular necrosis of the femur hip. हमारी वैद्य जी है जयपुर में, इतनी शानदार ट्रीटमेंट, celiac disease. जो हरीश वर्मा जी जो जुड़ते रहते टोरंटो से, GI tract problems, very complicated problems. So there are many examples. Balendu ji है आपके उत्तराखंड देहरादून की तरफ, many, something for migraine, something for pancreatitis. So we must bring all these into our daily discussions, you know, at all the levels. Agnihotriji, our discussions at the end are so amazing, you know, because somebody asks one question and then it leads to some very valuable thinking.
Balandi's work is on blood cancer, you see.
Blood cancer also, leukemia.
Yeah, leukemia, yeah.
Leukemia भी और माइग्रेन के ऊपर भी है काफी कुछ, और अब पैंक्रेटाइटिस में
pancreatitis, chronic pancreatitis.
Chronic pancreatitis. क्यों नहीं? Why don't we approach and discuss these things and bring modern medicine people into this? Shradha ji, thank you very much. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. Doma ji, namaskar ji. Ravi ji, namaskar. Good night. Shubhratri.
नमस्कार.
Agnihotriji ji, pranam.
सभी को नमस्कार, सलाम. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ravi ji. Please जोड़ते रहिए जी, because we are inspired by your questions.
सर मैं एक छोटा सा 15 सेकंड का लूंगा, क्योंकि आपके टॉपिक ऐसे जब मैं पढ़ता हूँ ना, जब मॉर्निंग में भेजते हैं डॉक्टर पवन जी, भेजते हैं मुझे, तो मुझे लगता है कि इसमें मेरा कोई स्कोप तो है नहीं, बायोडाइवर्सिटी इन हर्ब, तो मेरा ये टॉपिक नहीं है, तो मैं क्या जवाब दे पाऊंगा, क्या क्वेश्चन मुझे गेन होगा, या मुझे कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन, मेरा पूछने वाला कोई क्वेश्चन भी नहीं है और मुझे गेन भी नहीं होगा नॉलेज. बट मैं जब जुड़ता हूँ तो इतने कुछ मिलता है मुझे, अपने आप क्वेश्चन रेट अपने आप राइल हो जाते हैं, तो मैं तो बैठा रहा हूँ.
कर पाते अगर आपने विड्रॉ कर लेते, आपको जानना जरूरी होता है.
नहीं सर, मैं फिर दिल करता है बस उठूं ना यहाँ से, तो बस दिल करता है कंटिन्यू रहूं मैं. आज भी मैंने बहुत कुछ सीखा सर, थैंक यू.
ना हम लोग भी पढ़ते रहते हैं, जैसे प्रेजेंट करते हैं हमको भी डाउट्स आता रहता है. कभी डाउट्स आते हैं.
गुड नाइट श्रद्धा जी, गुड नाइट.
ओके, थैंक यू जी, बाय बाय.
नमस्कार जी, प्लीज जोड़ते रहिए जी रवि जी.
थैंक यू सर.
हरिओम हरिओम हरिओम.